Yeah.
Okay, all right, we're still at 78 memberships, and that's 18 families and 60 individuals. So, and no new members this past month.
Okay. Now this compares to what, 81 from last year. So we're just we're very close to our membership from last year.
Yes.
Okay. And this is keeping up with events, just the website and Facebook. Everybody here knows about it, so we'll move on. Okay, upcoming meeting. November 16th, virtual, is election of directors for 3-year terms. The directors who are up for election is Jim Skeppins and myself.
Do you want to be Eddie?
If you would like to have your name on the ballot,
let me
send a request to me by November 15th to the president at Kingwood Photo Club, and I'll be sure to put your name on the ballot.
We got this.
And December 14th, the board met and we decided that we are going to have a in-person social for Christmas. So yay. I mean, we can actually see each other. It'll be in the Kingwood First Baptist Church, where we have always met, in the fellowship hall, 6:30 to 8, and the club will provide sandwiches, chips, dessert, and drinks. So all you have to do is show up, and Jim is going to be there for holiday photos and a surprise visit from Santa. So I'm hoping you can all make it. And the hospitality, I'll have to talk to Maggie and get the hospitality. So if you'd like to help Maggie, let me know, and I'll send your name on to Maggie too. And look at this picture. This is from 2018. So hopefully we'll have
a handsome group that is.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully we'll have as many people in December as we had back then. Okay, we have been contacted by for the Discovery Lake Houston magazine. And this is the one, I think this is Emily, isn't this your husband in the kayak on the cover? I think that's your husband. Anyway, they are again requesting photos of the area. They're looking for vibrant photos of the area. I have put a news article on our webpage if you want to go look at that, because that also has the Dropbox link where you can upload your photos. This is due by October 29th, so you have a few days. They're not, if you have old photos that you want to also upload, I think that would be fine. I know I kind of take photos over time, and I've uploaded some that are older and some that are more recent, but they're looking for vibrant pictures of the area. So take a look at that. And she said monuments, and I don't know if we have any monuments in the area. Also, like Town Center, I don't think they've ever shown anything from Town Center before. So maybe a few different shots this year. So get out there and send it in, and maybe your picture will be on the cover of the magazine.
And you too might be married to a cover boy.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Except that all we get to see is the back of his head, Emily.
Well, his back's
Anyway.
as nice as his front. So
Is that his best side?
he's got a lot of good sides.
Hey, does he? Okay. Anyway, so check out the news article, and if you take any pictures, there's the Dropbox link that you can upload your photos.
Can I just say also that
Sure.
if you want to be on the cover, your odds are better if you do a portrait format.
Okay.
It's not absolute, because I did have one on the cover that was a landscape.
Yeah.
They cropped.
So you've been on the cover. Chuck's been on the cover. Tim Sullivan was on the cover last year. Diane Binney's been on the cover. So this has been going on. Emily, how long have we been contributing to this magazine?
A long time. What? 10?
Well, I would say at least 12 years, Emily, because I can
almost
remember
as
back.
long as the club, almost as long as the club has been in existence.
Yeah.
Phil Bozzo made a contact with
Yeah.
Jennifer many years ago.
Yeah.
So anyway, we get our names on it, so we get a little buy, but it's for a good cause. It's for our neighborhood, and I think it's always a thrill to see your picture posted in a magazine. This was my picture in the background that they took. This was Emily's. This was mine.
And you also get even if you don't make the cover, they put a lot of our pictures inside. So
Mhm.
that's always exciting too.
Yeah, they do.
But you might be a centerfold.
Yes, exactly. We always aspire for that.
I'd have to give the money back.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So Chuck, did you want to talk about the library and the photographer's Zoom lunch?
Let me
Just
unmute
checking out.
myself. Yeah,
There.
yeah. Let me, the library series is something we've done for a long time also, probably 4 or 5 years. We've been doing it every month. I think it's a good series of workshops that helps the instructor as much as anybody else. The last couple of months, we haven't done it, sort of ran out of topics and couldn't get much interest in a lot of people doing the workshops. I want to try to kick them off again starting in January. And in January, I'm going to do what I typically do is do a workshop, basic workshop on know your camera, camera basics, f-stops, shutter speeds, how cameras work, that sort of thing. We'll invite we invite the public to these things, but obviously members can join also. And we'll probably do some East End Park photo walks along with that afterwards or before to talk about cameras informally, one-on-one. While we shoot. So it just help people use that. And after that, during the year, we'll try to come up with a series of things.
And I think it's important to make sure that they realize it's an introductory photography class, because I was giving an introductory class one time and a guy showed up that didn't tune in on that. He wanted to know how to paint with light.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Well, you can, he can go find that somewhere else. No, we do. It's basically, it says know your camera, and we talk about it as an introduction to photography basics. It gets pretty technical because we get down into the stuff, but
Have you set a date for that one yet?
no, I haven't. That'll be January.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And so that's the workshop series. I hope to try to get them rolling again next year on a pretty regular basis. The photographer's lunch, for those of us who do that, and then there's a lot of us right here in this meeting who do that. It's been a fabulous little thing that we've done every Wednesday at noon, 12:30, we get together and on Zoom and talk. And last Wednesday, we all got together in person and went to a restaurant and talked. So I think we're talking about doing that maybe once a month, do an in-person lunch, the rest of the time doing it Zoom. So if you haven't been to the photographer's lunch, please join us. If you don't have a link, send me a request for the link. I've sent out the link before and you may have lost it, but send me a request for the link and I'll do that. My email is easy to remember. It's admin, ADIM, admin at kwphotoclub.com.
ADMIN.
You didn't spell it right.
ADMIN, yes, I'm sorry. Admin. So just send it to that and I'll get it. So that
And we have solved at least 50% of the world's problems.
and none of them have to do with photography, which is a great thing. That's a good thing. We have a SIG meeting coming up this week, I believe, in post-processing. The format we're going to use this year is pretty informal. We're not going to necessarily have a topic unless on one meeting we pick a topic for the next meeting, and we're very purposeful about it. But whoever shows up, and we'll talk about what's of interest for those people showing up. So if somebody wants to talk about Luminar, or somebody wants to talk about something else, Topaz, something, we'll do our best to talk about those topics and share our knowledge of how those things work and how we use them. And we get in specific topics as people request them or want them, but we'll start off pretty informally. So that's.
Chuck, when is that? When is the meeting?
That meeting is, that's the PP SIG meeting at 2 p.m. on Thursday. If you haven't signed up, there is a sign up form on the website.
Gotcha.
Okay, all right, good, all right.
You should do the video that you did for the Wings Over Houston, Chuck.
Yeah.
Was really nice. Was that done with Apple? I could see a.
Yeah, that's just Apple's iMovie.
Was it?
I don't use anything fancy.
Yeah, that turned out really nice. That could be a SIG topic too.
Yeah, if you have an Apple machine, a little iMovie is pretty nice.
Okay, so you sent out the list of computers for the club.
Oh,
Mike decided to upgrade me to an Apple.
oh, really?
Yes. So the laptop that you were looking at, that is my Christmas present, which it did come, Emily. I did get it.
Have you ever used Apple before, Kathy?
No.
At first it'll be different. Just
So
warning
I
you.
may be asking for one-on-one.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it.
No,
Am
you'll love it. I
More
don't think you do
expensive.
it. You're an Android user, right? iPhone? Well, this thing is, the nice thing with Apple, if you use Apple across everything, they work great together. I mean, for example,
Yeah.
I can pick up my iPhone and copy something in the iPhone and paste it on my PC. You know, that sort of thing, copy, paste, I mean, things like that, they just all work together through the air magically. You know?
Android has one now called Your Phone that you can put on your basic PC or laptop that'll allow your phone to talk to your computer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Is
these things
that
I'll do.
Chuck-
If my phone rings, for example, it rings on my laptop or computer as well as my phone.
Chuck,
You're welcome.
is that an actual decision now, or are you gonna put that before the board, or what's the next step?
She's going on her own.
No, this is mine.
What?
This is not the club's. This will be my computer. So it's just that this put the
Oh,
bug in Mike's
okay.
ear.
Oh, I
This put
see.
the bug-
Okay.
Yeah. So, and my laptop's like 5 years old. So anyway, so I'll bring that up later. Jim, as long as you're on, do you want to talk about portrait sig? Thank you, Chuck, too,
Yeah,
for,
sure.
Well, we're pretty much the same as we were before, about a year and a half past due on this. But we are planning, putting things together, and we are planning after the first of the year to have our next meeting.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty confident that we will get back on track by then. So
Okay.
we'll be putting something out over the next month or so, and anyway, move forward. So
Okay. So more on that later.
more on
Chuck?
that later. That's right.
Chuck, one thing, on that slide, it says November, November 18th.
Okay. Yeah, you're perfectly correct there. Really, it's this Thursday starting.
Good.
So whatever this Thursday is, right? It's
Oh, I
it's a
was
third
doing-
it's
I
a
was
third
doing-
Thursday
Yeah.
of each month.
It's October 21st.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it's the
it's the third Thursday.
So
of
this
each
is
month.
this is the November meeting. So sorry.
I will send out a link to the people who've signed up for the SIG, and I might even send out the link to the people who used to be in the SIG.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Anne.
Yes, we've got some, actually, outings planned for every month, just about until May, sometimes twice a month. But our first one is coming up this Friday. We're going to go to the Japanese Gardens at Herman Park. And it's just a nice little 5.5 acre park. It's not visited very much, so there's not a whole lot of people there, and there certainly won't be a whole lot on Friday. It should be a pretty nice day now that we're in back into October. And so you can sign up online, and if you do, that means we'll send out an email to remind you, but you can also just show up at the church at 9 a.m. We'll get together to carpool. Some people like to just go on their own, and they'll meet us at the gate probably around 9:45 to 10. And like I say, it's a fairly small park, and there's a 500 acre Herman Park nearby if we still want to take more pictures. And there's there's nearby Rice Village for a really nice lunch. We've never tried the Houston Zoo lights before, so we're going to try them early on, even before Thanksgiving, maybe, because that way there won't be so many people there. I've tried to go between Thanksgiving and Christmas before on a weekend, and it was kind of a zoo. It was just very, very crowded. We figure if we go early, we'll have more luck putting up our tripods and being able to get some really nice shots. And 4:30 will get us downtown to the zoo and into the zoo. You do have to buy a ticket for it. About 5:30, which I think is about dusk. So you'll get some real dusky pictures. If anybody thinks we should leave earlier, let me know if we need to get down at 4. Remember, we are kind of fighting traffic.
Are we meeting at the Baptist church also?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
all events will meet at the Baptist church and we'll
Okay.
carpool.
Thank you.
And the downtown walking tour, we do have a map. We're not just going to meander, and we got a map and some points of interest that we're going to follow. And that'll be on Saturday, on January 15th. If the weather's good, we'll always have a rain date, but it should be nice and crisp. Most winter days are wonderful for walks. And this will be on Saturday, so there won't be so many people down there. Might even be able to get a shot right in the middle of the street if you're willing to chance it. But like I
With
say,
that-
all the events will meet at the Kingwood Baptist
when-
Church to carpool.
When do
And
we
it
fall
would-
back? When do we fall back to winter? Or is that zoo lights going to be before or after that?
It's
November
gonna be
4th or
after.
whatever.
It'll be after the winter.
Daylight
It's
savings
always
time
the
is a
first
week,
weekend in November.
It's the
first week of
7th,
November.
the 7th.
Say, Ann,
Yes,
Ann, can you hear me okay?
yes.
Jim here. Several years ago, I'm not sure, Chuck, you can correct me on this, maybe about 5, 6 years ago, the club went to the Woodlands where they had all their Christmas lights all up and down that bayou, the canal and everything, you know. And anyway, at sunset, and we had some fabulous pictures. I mean, really, really beautiful. And then we had, you know, a dinner or whatever, hamburger, what, and there were about 10, 12 of us. And so that may be something you might want to look into and see, because they have those roads and everything are all covered in Christmas lights and everything, and all the trees are covered in lights and that. And I think it was really kind of a neat deal.
It was neat. Yeah.
Emily, I don't remember, were you in that group or not? I know Chuck was,
No.
and
No, I don't think I did
I
that.
remember
Well,
people
Jen-
saying it was very cold, but it was a very beautiful evening. It's
Yeah.
clear and
Yeah.
cold and
it was a
very
great time.
Something that the Woodlands Club is doing, they're meeting and they're going out and getting Halloween photos. They're meeting and then they're just let everyone kind of goes and picks a neighborhood. And I thought that's kind of interesting because there are some people who go out even more for Halloween than they do for Christmas.
Yeah,
Local shots.
Yeah.
That might be a
Right.
nice pop-up.
a pop-up.
Okay.
There's an amazing yard in Atascocita. If you go down Lake Houston Parkway to
Uh-huh.
the light in front of the school and turn left,
Uh-huh.
down 2 blocks, I think, there's a yard that is just unbelievable.
And then they're going to put them up on their Facebook. So that might be a pop-up where you go do a group does Halloween shots and then put them up and let everybody see the neighborhood Halloween cheer.
Yes.
Anyway, those are thoughts.
Okay.
Okay, Anne, was there anything else? I know you've got a full.
We've got February's coming up and we have a couple of things, including the rodeo. I haven't put that online yet, but I
Yeah.
will in March, April, and May. And a
Mhm.
couple of things in March, being the overnight trip to Fredericksburg.
Uh-huh.
So that'll of course depend on rain and weather because it's going to be a night shoot.
Yeah.
But right now we're just assuming that everything's going to work out for us,
Yeah.
just like it did in South Dakota.
Yeah, and so that was such a great trip too. So yeah, so you have a full agenda already, itinerary lined up for everyone. So it's going to be an exciting year next year. So, okay. And these are just some club events. At the November meeting, there will be a video clip of the club photos from our Rapid City trip so that you can all ooh and ah of the colors, and it was just a very nice trip. And then I mentioned earlier that Chuck put together a video for the Wings Over Houston, which was really, really well done. I enjoyed watching that, and I think that would be something worthwhile. That's all. These are all on our Facebook. And then congratulations to Chris. He entered the contest in the Woodlands Photography Club, and of his 16 images, 7 of them were chosen for awards. So congratulations, Chris. I know I saw you there somewhere.
Yeah.
So were you
Wow,
were
that's
you
terrific.
blown out when you got?
I was
some of
actually
them?
surprised. Because they let us look at the entries because there was like a group vote, and I looked at the entries, I go, why can't vote? They're all so good. It's like they're all good, and they were better than mine, I thought. And then when they did the awards, I was like, wow, they really liked some of my images. So I got 2 first place, 2 seconds, 2 curators choice, which is the Glade Center has some curators, and I got 1 honorable mention. So so now I've had prints made, and I've been a longtime customer of Nations Photo Lab, and I found an online coupon, so I got a great deal. So I mean, these are 16 by 20, 10 by 20 prints. And then you buy mats. The club does, they supply the mats, and then they have a showing in November. So my wife and I are going to go to the show. And stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
It's kind of
We'll have to let us.
fun.
Yeah, let
let
us
us know.
know.
I'll send out the date if anyone else wants to
Yeah.
drive over to the Woodlands.
Yeah, that would be fun. I'd like to see your work.
Yeah, but and the thing was, these are judges who are in the professional, but not just photographers. They had one who's a designer, one who's an art director for a museum. So they all had, and they had good things. They commented on why they chose the pictures. So it was very good. So
Will you post on?
Sometimes people need to just compete in some things and just see where you place. You know, if you don't place, it's okay. You tried. Yeah.
So
Will you post on our website where the when and where the show's going to be?
I'll let
please?
everyone know.
okay.
Thank you.
And we can
Hopefully
all
you,
come and support you, Chris.
I was gonna say, hopefully you can come. It's, the contest was really great.
Mhm.
I placed honorable mention and curator's choice.
Uh-huh.
And it's pretty lively with a lot of photos. Like Chris said, there's some just really fantastic photography. But the exhibit is really nice there at the Glades. So Chris, one of us should get it up there, and hopefully
sure
you
we
guys can come and see the work. So
that would be fun. Do you happen to know when in November that's going to be?
It's November 8th, and it
Ah.
starts, it's a Monday evening, and it starts at 5:30 to 9. It's an open event, and we'll have light refreshments, and there's even an open bar,
Oh.
a pay bar, not open from the club. Yeah, cash bar.
Is it open to the public? Is it open
Yes,
to
it
the-
is. Actually, we have somebody who manages what you would call the media information, and she's reaching out to a lot of local areas and whatnot. So
All right.
it's very nice.
Can you send me the information?
On Facebook.
Yeah.
We'll get you
Yeah.
the information, Chuck.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. All right.
Okay.
I'll put it on the website.
Yeah.
All right. So Chuck, do you want to
Okay,
introduce Steve?
I've been tapped to introduce Steve, and that's not a bad thing, but I just want to say, as I do this, Jim Skeppens, who would normally do this, is with his wife right now. She's having some health issues, and she's having I guess an operation tomorrow. So he's not at the meeting today. Let's keep Jim in mind, and all pull for his wife. Anyways, let me introduce Steve. His program is going to be called Shooting for Impact. Steve grew up in Houston, Springwoods High School graduate, UT Austin. I have written now 1918, but I think it's 1978. Communications major. I wrote down some notes here. I don't know Steve, obviously, so I wrote down some notes here, and I think I got it wrong. I think it's 1978. Communications. He's lived in LA and New York. He's worked a lot in the area of promotions for artists and records, radio stations, with CBS Records, I think, for 15 years. In 1992, he came back to Kingwood and set up a studio called the Hole in One Studio, where he did a lot of coverage of golf tournaments, golf events, videoing those events and photographs, I guess. And currently he has his own studio in his home. He does a lot of individual portraits and group pictures. Steve, did I miss anything?
Oh, you're pretty good.
Good. Okay. Well, you can go ahead and Kathy, if you let him share, that'll be great.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll talk to you while you can see me for a minute here.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know about you guys, but I sign up for these seminars all the time. For this guy's going to show you that, and Serge Romelli's going to tell you that, and this guy. And you get on the seminar, and the guy spends the first 15 or 20 minutes talking about himself and his past. And then I did this, and then we bought that. I'm going, dude, I can't learn something. Shut up and get to the beef. So let's get to the beef. All right. Somewhere on here it says share screen.
Down below.
I know that most of you are accomplished photographers. That's why you're a member of the club. But I do have a class that I give to beginners. It was created because I will take some pictures of family or whatever, and then I go somewhere and I come home and my wife is all frustrated because she tried to take pictures of the grandkids and her pictures look like crud. How come my pictures look like crud? Well, duh. You know, you're shooting on ISO 4000 in the middle of the after, you know, it's like, so the basics that you need to know when you don't pick up a camera for, you know, maybe 2 months or 3 months, and you grab your Canon and you're, what do I adjust here? So I have a thing I call impact, and it's an acronym, and I'm getting ready to tell you what they stand for. So you can copy this down if you want, but just remember impact. And anytime you go months without shooting any pictures, or your family wants to learn how to work their camera and get off of automatic, impact is the way to go. Okay. And I'm open for discussions. So anytime someone has something to say, just pipe in. And here we go. It says share my screen. I said share screen, didn't I? Where's my screen? Oh, there it is. This one, share. Okay. So there it is.
Yeah, perfect.
So you still hear me. Impact, first letter I. I is how important is the picture? Is it a lizard on your back deck, or did Matthew McConaughey come over to your neighborhood and he's going to knock on your door and you want the picture for a lifetime? How big is this picture ever going to be? Is it just a little snapshot for Facebook? Is it something for your camera? Or is it something you want to blow up to 24 by 30 and put on the wall? So importance controls your image quality. Are you shooting raw plus JPEG? I always shoot raw plus JPEG. You paid for it, you might as well use it. And then ISO, the International Standardization Organization, which is in Switzerland or Sweden or somewhere, and they're the guys that set the standards for how sensitive the sensors are in your camera. That's what the ISO is. And you all know about ISO. Typically in outdoor sunshine, you want to shoot 200. Regular run around indoor outdoor stuff, 400's good. All the new cameras are pretty good up to 800 and 1000. And if you're going to shoot some event like a basketball game or somewhere and you're not really sure about changing lighting and it's kind of indoors, you can go into your settings and say your ISO on auto ISO, and it will jump the ISO as needed to make sure you get proper exposures. So your image size and your ISO are very important. You can't get a giant poster out of a 5 megabyte picture, you know, on ISO 4000. So that's the first thing. M is motion. Who is moving? Are you moving? Or are they moving? Because the one thing we can never fix in a picture is blur. We can try, but blur is the biggest culprit of all photographers. When you go in the green mode, auto, it's almost always set at 60. That's the standard 60th of a second. Well, guys at my age don't really do that good at 60. You can. Some people can shoot at 40 all day long. And if you want to be still, you shoot on the XL. Always shoot on the XL if you're trying to hold the camera still. 60 is your green mode. Not really very good. I recommend 125. If I'm shooting some sort of a function, an event, and I got people and they're celebrating and they're drinking wine and I'm supposed to be taking their pictures at the gala, I set my camera at 125. That's my shutter speed. And then I let my flash, and I set my f-stop at 4, and I let my flash, an auto mode or TTL, I let it determine how much light to flash on the people. So I'm not changing my shutter speed to something that's, you know, oh, it dropped down to 40th of a second. No wonder the bride was all blurry. So you want to, when you get in manual mode, you want to set that shutter speed so that your people are stopped in action. 125, I tell you, is my favorite. 160 in my studio because you can, and you know shutter speed controls ambient light. So if I'm shooting white backgrounds and I don't really want it white, I want it powder gray or whatever, I'll shoot them at 200th of a second, and that brings the background down a little bit. So it's not magazine white. But sports like basketball and activity and stuff, when I go shoot in the gym over there, I find pretty much that I can get at 325, I can stop most people. A lot of the sports groups I belong to, they all shoot at 1,000th of a second. They got big old giant, $8,000 lenses, and they're stopping the guy with his tongue hanging out as he runs around the end. And oh my gosh, weren't they a great photographer? Anyway, so that's what M stands for, motion. And maybe you're the one that's moving. Maybe you're in a car. You can always think about a bicycle race, and here they come on the bikes. Are you trying to stop the bike and the spokes and everything? Or are you going to go with the bike? So you're moving in the background's moving, but the cyclist is still. So that's the second thing you have to think about after you've gotten your image size. P is for people. How many people in this picture do you care about? My wife ran the marathon and went down to Rice University. Here come 1,000 sweaty bodies on their 12th mile running down University Boulevard. And I zoomed in with my 200, and I wanted my wife in the middle of sea of exhaustion, but I wanted her. Just one person. That's all I cared about. So I was able to shoot that at 2.8. She came out crystal clear, and everybody else sort of gets buttery and goes into the scene. So remember about that. Your f-stop always needs to be one number bigger than the number of people you care about in a picture. You're shooting a couple, F4 all day long. A lot of bridal photographers in New York City, the big $10,000 people, they are F4 priority shooters. They'll shoot everything on F4 because the bride and the groom, there's two of them, and there's a little bit of depth of field at F4. So they're both in focus, and the trees go soft and it's romantic and beautiful. And there's a gal that I went to her seminar, and she told us I shoot F4. Meanwhile, that gal, Lindsay Adler, who makes a lot of money shooting portraits and white backdrop fashion type stuff, she shoots F11 all day long. And then there was another guy who's a big shot. I can't place his name right now, but he's one of the big photographers that goes to all the, PPAs and all those things. And he was putting on at Texas School a sample with some models in white background and lights and stuff. And what he shoots F8 all day long. The rest of it has to adjust around F8 because he can't afford to lose any focus, and he needs that depth of field. In my studio here, I shoot almost everyone at 6.3 or 7.1 at 1/60th of a second and 250 ISO and set my lights accordingly. But my people come through crystal clear and great looking and stuff, and I didn't have to go to F11 or whatever. But that's how many people you care about. You got a family picture, you probably need to shoot that at F8 or F11. If you got a family of 3, 4, 5, shoot them at 5, 6, or 6.3. You'll have some depth of focus. You don't want to lose those people on the ends. You always have to remember, you set your focus at the closest person to you, but the people on the end, Pythagorean theorem, there's a diagonal that goes out there. The guy at the end of the row is farther from you than the girl in the front. Okay, so you always have to remember that and have an f-stop that allows you to, to take up some distance in your depth of field. Okay, so those are the three most important things about pictures, IMP. That's sensor sensitivity, shutter speed, and f-stop. And this is when you make up your mind. As an artist, what do I care about? Do I want a girl here with a buttery, flowery background? So I'm going shallow depth of field. I'm going to shoot her at 1.6 and let the rest of it just go to art. Or do I need to have the girl in front of the building where she works and the building's in focus and the girl's in focus? I got to be F11 or F16. So I got the depth of field to get it all in there. But that's where your artistry comes in. You make up your mind what you're trying to accomplish with your picture. And so A is for adjustments because it doesn't always work. Sometimes what you want isn't achievable because there's not enough light. Or they're moving too fast. That shutter speed won't work. They're riding bicycles, for crying out loud. I can't shoot them at 1/125th. So I got to jack my shutter speed to 500th to stop the guy. But now all of a sudden the light goes down on the ambient light. So now I'm gonna have to bump my ISO. So you learn the interaction of those three things, and then you adjust when that happens. C is creativity and composition. How do you want to shoot the picture? Do you want a low angle shooting up for a power image? Or do you want to shoot down on people to make them look diminutive or whatever? Or are you trying to shoot wide and at 24 millimeters and get that big sort of fisheye look with the city behind them and they're up close? Or you want to get way away and zoom in? I love to get away and zoom in. When you shoot at 200 millimeters, you're compressing the background. You're not just closing in that they're closer, but everything behind them comes closer as well. And so it makes for a real nice background because you squeeze it all in. 50 millimeters, the eyeball works at 50 millimeters. So true world perspective is 50 millimeters. That's why they sold that lens on all the cameras because, oh, everything's real. You took your picture. But when you get to portrait photographers love to shoot at 85 millimeters. That's just the standard. Some people move to 105 and 135 for your depth. But a lot of senior pictures, you see those beauty pictures of the girl on the downtown Main Street with the bumps on the road and the buildings in the background. You see those pictures, they're backed off. They're shooting at 200 millimeters. Some people are shooting at 1.6 now because they want the buttery effect. F2, 8, 2.8, 3.5, even F4 is good. But when you get back at 200 and then zoom in on them, wow, that whole background comes in and it really makes for that. While we're speaking of that on this creative thing, backgrounds, everyone calls me, where are we going to shoot? Where are we going to shoot? Where do you want to shoot? It doesn't really matter that much. You need to see what they're wearing, because me as a portrait photographer, I try to choose a background that accents and complements their color. You know, are they wearing earth tones? We're going to go to leaves and flowers and greenery. Are they wearing blues and navies and blacks? And we want to go to some chrome and some steel and some structure. And on that note, girls can handle a blue lake behind them. Oh, she's so pretty and the sky's so nice. Girls can handle that. Guys need structure. Okay, when you're shooting guys, they need to be on a rail, on some stairs, leaning against a post. Guys need structure. Girls can handle just a blue sky and how pretty they are. Right? These are just little tips that I believe in. And again, nothing is absolute in stone. This is just the things that I try to do. So make your adjustments, get creative on your composition. You'll see some pictures I'm going to show in a minute of a girl with her brand new car she got. We parked it in front of her high school. So you can see the high school, you can see the car, you see the girl jumping for joy. And that's creative composition. You know, and there's a bunch of things you can do. You could have her behind the wheel, leaning against a hood, up on top, whatever she wanted to jump for joy because she was that kind of a girl. So your composition and capture, you have to be thinking about that in your creative thing. What are you doing? Do you want to capture the guy as he's stuffing the ball or as he's shooting the ball? You've got to know what your point is and what you're trying to capture. You don't just shoot machine gun style and wind up with some lucky shots, which is, I don't know if there's any sports photographers on here, but personally, I know a few guys that really thump their chest about how great they are because they got a $13,000 400 millimeter lens, and and they're down in the end zone with their little monopod, and the guy comes around the corner on a sweep at Texas A&M game, and they hold down the button. Okay, I shot 38 pictures of the guy, and one of them happened to have him with a cow tongue hanging out, slobbering, and with a ball, and it said Sports Illustrated. I'm the king, dude. I could go shoot blackbirds with a shotgun when there's 40 of them, and I'm not a hunter, but it's the same thing. You didn't have to get the 3-year-old to behave and smile and be happy and look over here. So when you can do that with a 3 or 4-year-old, then you're a photographer. Okay, talk to me about that. Don't just machine gun some running back coming around the corner. Hey, I got opinions. And then we get to T, and T stands for trigger and timing. And what I'm good at, talking. You have to talk to your people. I see some guy, I invited a guy to come shoot an event with me once, and he showed up with his D7000 or whatever. He was all, had his gear and was all, and I'm going to take your picture, and he's wrestling with this, wrestling with that. And the people are standing there like, okay, what are we supposed, you need to talk to your subjects. Okay, everybody right here. And if you want to freshen them up, you've got trigger lag, about that. If you want to hit a guy hitting a golf shot, you can't wait till he hits it to click the trigger. You're going to get him on the follow through every time. So you need to learn about your trigger, anticipate when they get to the peak of their jump for dancers, and when the impact for softball players and baseball players, basketball players. You need to anticipate and shoot the trigger for that moment for when they hit their crest and apex of their jump. So know your trigger. That's your timing. Decide what your timing is going to be. Do you want the guy coming at the ball as a golfer? You want him hitting the ball, or do you want the high hands finish we see in all the magazines? You make the decision and go for it. And then talking is so, so, so important. You have to communicate with people, make them feel comfortable, let them know what's going on. Otherwise, they're just standing there like, what am I supposed to do? I seriously, in a 2-hour session, when I shoot seniors or whatever, I'm not sure that I ever shut up the whole time. You know, sometimes I feel guilty because it's over and I forget I didn't ask them enough questions. I should have been friendlier and asked more questions. But the truth is I'm telling them about what a softbox does and why the light gets better from closer in and hold this and diffuse the sun. I'm getting instructions and got people helping me and all kinds of stuff. And then I talk about the Longhorns and the Aggies and whatever else. But it's just, you just have to maintain that solid contact with your subject or else they're just deer in the headlights. So that's your impact right there. Any questions on that?
Sounds good.
Got it? Pretty easy to remember, right? But again, like I said,
I have to say that you've already told me stuff that I had no knowledge of, and I'm so.
oh, Emily. Well, here's the difference, okay? I've photographed everything. I've photographed stuff for catalogs, stuff for magazines, buildings and architecture and real estate. And I do headshots and I'll do corporate gatherings of people all in front of their, you know, I've done it all. Pets, sports. I say I've done it all. I haven't done medical surgery stuff yet, but I finally decided at my age that I need to do what I like. And what I like is people. Okay, so I like people, not necessarily 3-year-olds, but I'm really good with 1-year-olds, and I'm not very good with 9-day-olds. Yeah, that baby swaddling cloth thing, you know, and they look like they just got hung from a stork or something. And then they pee all over your dining room table, and then they cry, and then you got to breastfeed them again. And it takes 2 hours to get what? A little baby with his eyes shut, and he doesn't know he was being photographed. It doesn't do anything for me. So I leave that to the girls and guys that specialize in that. And I don't do boudoir because I can't. Not that I wouldn't like it as a boudoir, but I'm telling you, I can't because I photograph a whole lot of high school kids around here, and y'all are from Kingwood. And the last thing people want to know is, oh yeah, that Steve Bratt guy shoots naked ladies. I don't do it. Okay. So I have to choose. I have to choose what I enjoy and what I'm good at and what rings the cash register. So I shoot people. I shoot families. I shoot headshots. A lot of realtors come to me for headshots. I shoot children. And now I really specialize in what's called team and individual, which is a pretty good way to make money in this business. And I'll tell you why, because team is, I found out in seniors and weddings, they only get married once for the most part. And seniors don't always come back to you for their wedding. They graduate and they're gone. If I do the volleyball team at Kingwood, every August, the coach calls me, Steve, can you do September 10th? Oh, sure I can. 68 girls posing for pictures in the gym for an hour and a half. I'm there. Calling every year. Right now, I'm up to 50 teams, and my phone rings off the hook, and I give them more than they pay for. You'll see in my pictures, I really try to give families pictures of their kids that when my thing is, and I tell them this, I want you to pose and smile and look great because when you're 38, I want you to show your kid this picture that dad played ball when he was in high school. Because see, my friends that grew up in the 70s with me, I got friends that played for the Green Bay Packers. He doesn't even have any pictures at Arkansas and only 2 pictures from Green Bay. And people, you know, our age, we need to look back on the glory years. And so I treat these pictures like they're important, and they come back. I found that I've never dropped a nickel in advertising. I post pictures on Facebook and tag people, and they tag people, and they tag people. And then I call coaches and I shoot games, and I'm not afraid to reach out. I stormed into the swim coach's office this week at Kingwood. He looked up like, who the heck are you? And I said, hey, 3 times we've been back and forth. Can we just pick a date? He was like, oh, okay, great. So we picked a date right there. In 3 minutes, I was gone, and he was happy that we did. So I'm not shy. I can beat it down to get the business. But my most important thing is give them more than they pay for, make it special, and you don't have to waste your time looking for business. So that's where I'm at. I'm kind of at the point where as a one-man band, my wife helps me, but I'm not going to hire a bunch of other shooters. I don't know if y'all have ever tried to hire people, but in the video world that I do, I was filming dance spring shows for all the high schools. And I got to a point where I had 30 high schools and 5 of them on the same night. And I sent video guys out, and 3 of the 5 guys messed up. And I'm like, wait, you didn't just ruin that $1,000 show that I was supposed to be doing. You ruined that client for the next 10 years. That was a $10,000 mistake. And so it's, you know, you're only as good as your weakest link. So like I said, enough about me. Any questions about the impact though, before we get to show and tell? And I know all of you have really good pictures, so bear with me. If you think some of these are average, it's fine with me. Here we go. White background, black backgrounds. I'm supposed to be on this screen here. How's it work? How's that work? I'm sharing my screen. Do I click on this and then I go, there it is. Black background is really cool. This is in my studio. It's just black felt cloth back there. A little bit of light behind him to separate him from the black. Sometimes you don't have to separate people from black if you don't want to, but the critical element of a portrait is jawline. You can't see where I'm pointing, but you see the shadow underneath his jaw. You don't want to shoot up people's nose, and you want to create jawline, especially in males. Okay. This guy's a music director over at Wood Lake Middle School or whatever, over there right next to Summer Creek. Excellent guy, Phil O'Neill. Phil O'Neill, Music Educator of the Year or something like that in the state of Texas. But anyway, so you see the same thing. We got a little bit of light. That's a tiny short kicker stand back there behind him with a speed light on it. It's got toilet paper over it to squash it down a little bit, and a little bit of a reflector bumper, one of those flat things you put behind your flash to make it all go to the back, and just puts a little splash behind him. You can see the catch lights in his eye. I've got 2 lights on him. My main box is the big one on the right side of his eyeball over here on the right side. That's my main light. And then a little filler in there. A lot of people don't like double catch lights. They're sensitive to it, and they'll go in there in Photoshop and they'll erase the second catch light. If you really want beauty in a person, like if I was shooting a girl and it mattered, it was going to be a canvas, I would go in and erase the second catch light. I would lighten underneath her iris, and then I would take a little sample the color of that main catch light and drop it down to about 11% with my brush and dab around the edges so I don't get such a harsh, critical, rectangular catch light, kind of soften it up. Like if you look back at the Liz Taylor shots and stuff from the movie days of the 50s and 60s and look at their Hollywood shots, they typically have a real soft from that giant soft box that they were using for their catch lights. Like this guy, you see his catch light, single catch light. It's just better. It's just better. You pay more attention to their eyes. And I probably went in there and dodged his iris a little bit on the other side where the catch light isn't. This is my daughter. Can't ever get a chance to take her picture. And sometimes I get lucky. But anyway, that's just, again, see the soft focus background? It's just some bogus drop that I've got. It doesn't mean anything, but it's just something different than plain and black. And then I put little weird frames and softening beveled edges and stuff just because I'm going to Facebook with it and I want people to see more than just a click. And now we get to what I call magazine white. I got white paper in the studio every day of the week. I can shoot athletes there and girls there in fashion. And you can't go wrong with magazine white. Okay. And again, that's one of the secrets. Like we always said in video, if you boost their saturation a little bit and put it in slow motion and put music to it, oh, you're the greatest videographer. They're in love with it. And photography is about the same way. Boost their saturation, go to your vibrance and bump them up to 29 or 33 for vibrance. And then brighten it all up. If you have to brighten it up to get your background whiter, brighten the whole dang thing, and then go in there and erase that curves layer on the girl to bring her back down to normal exposure. Y'all know about all that. But they want it white. They want it vanilla white. And what I love about that is I use Remove BG. That's a great place. If you don't know them, you need to. Remove.bg. For 40 cents, bam, they'll punch anything out. And it doesn't even have to be on white. I can shoot a kid in a parking lot and go to Remove BG and say, remove it. And all of a sudden the kid's sitting there as a PNG file floating for me to put into one of my sports templates. So Remove BG is a great thing. Again, this lady's cut off. They wanted a 3/4 for some realtor. This was a PNG file. And I give this to realtors because now she can drag this on top of some listing she has or some fancy kitchen she's trying to show you from some house. So she gets it as a PNG and she's all sassy and look at this great property I have for sale. There's the gray background I talked about. The girl's lit, but with shutter speed, you bump up your shutter speed a little bit and you can drop gray into white. White turns to gray as you speed up the shutter speed. The flash and the aperture aren't affected by shutter speed, but the background is. So you can get to gray, and you can add things in white. One of the coolest things I love to do is extract people. Open up a new layer, make it white. Bring the girl in on top of it because she's a PNG. You took her out with remove BG. Bring her on top of it. And then between her and the background layer, and even some on top of her if you want, add some more new layer, new layer, new layer, new layer, and then get some of these dust and splatter brushes and stuff and pick a color that accents from her colors and just have adult watercolor fun. You know, just to add something to it besides a girl standing out in my studio doing nothing. So I that's one of my favorite things to do is just watercolor people on a white background. And then I put the little frames in there, you know, and whatever. That's just fun. That's my granddaughter. Again, white background, but you can do laser statuettes. Richmond Photos does fabulous 10-inch laser statuettes, and they're on a little base down at the bottom. They stand on the counter, and they're made of plexiglass now. They're not on cardboard. It's clear, thick plexiglass, and the kids just there, you know, standing there forever. This is 1-year-olds. I love 1-year-olds because they're old enough to be excitable. And I make all the animal noises. If you haven't been to the farm lately, call me sometime and I'll tell you. I can make them all. I have the squeaky chicken, okay? But you can't break out the squeaky chicken unless it's the last resort, because now it's an object and they want to hold it and play with it, and all your pictures have a yellow squeaky chicken in it. So you got to go to you got to go to all the animal noises. What's this? They love that. And so people aren't allowed to videotape my sessions because they would show it to the world and no one would think that I was worthy because I'm just such a freak. But anyway, that's just a headshot for a ballet girl. Here again, mom and her 2 daughters. I always love to put parents with their athletes or their orchestra kids or their baseball players, because again, in 20 years, when she's got grandkids and they're going to love this picture for the rest of their life. And it was so easy to take. And then what I did was I took a texture, you see this sort of, what do y'all call that kind of wallpaper, paisley kind of wallpaper, and I put that over them as a texture. And then I come in with the eraser and I erase it off of their faces and their body. So it wasn't really wallpaper they were in front of, plain white background, make it look like they were in front of that. And on One and some of the programs, you could just pick those backgrounds. But I you know, this was years ago and I probably didn't. There's a realtor headshot. You know, you try to make them as pretty as you can make them without being artificial, you know, and you always want to cut them right about the boob line. You don't want to show down to their stomach so you can see how big their boobs were or weren't. Okay. So you always want to crop someone about there. Because, you know, she's got a rack, but you don't have to judge how big or big it is. That's the other reason why we cut people's heads off sometimes. I didn't in this picture, but oftentimes, you'll see in magazines, if you look in magazines, the rule of thumb is if 3 parts of their body aren't cut off by the edge of the paper, then someone's not doing their job. They really try to crop. She's cropped on the bottom. I didn't want to crop it. I could have cropped the top of her head. What happens when you crop the top of someone's head is now we don't have to worry about the perspective of how big they are or how large their head is or any of those things. We suddenly focus on their eyes and their nose and their teeth and their skin. So if you just take the screen and hold your hand up there above her part and just shield that and take a look at it, and you'll see that all of a sudden it's about her beautiful face and smile. And so don't be afraid to crop the top of people's heads. Okay, I didn't do it for you there because this is her business card realtor headshot, but often I do. But again, with dancers, this is white on white paper down at Roland Studio. I've got big umbrellas out front. I got one left 45 and one right 45, and they're set with Godox 600s, but they're only at about 1/4 or 1/8 power. And they're shooting into umbrellas, what gives a big wraparound soft light. And then I got 2 strip boxes behind her shooting it in my white background. So my white background can't possibly be too white. Okay, because I can always punch her out and put her in plain white. But this is a 4-light setup. Is there a question? Someone have a question on that?
Yeah, it's really.
This is a 4-light setup, and you go for timing, and they do it over and over and over, and then finally the ballet director says, "Oh yeah, the point's really good, and she looks good right there." And then of course you boost the saturation, you know, vibrance. You know about vibrance. Vibrance boosts colors, not necessarily flesh tones. And so you can boost vibrance to get the purple to light up and get her hair to go golden. But I like vibrance almost every picture that I take. If you go to auto in Lightroom, it's going to kick vibrance up +15. I like to take vibrance to 29 or 32. That's just my thing.
Steve,
Okay.
question.
Yep.
How far away from the subject do you place the soft boxes? I understand that the closer they get and larger, the softer the light. Is that true?
That is true, especially in their catch lights. You know, the farther the subject is, the harsher the shadows. So if you've got a big, 52-inch umbrella, it's got to be out of her way and out of my line of sight. So this was a 9-foot, this is a 9-foot piece of paper, and it's about 11 feet up in the air, and it rolls out to me, and she's on the front of it. This wasn't extracted. She's actually touching the ground there. There wasn't much to it, but the strips are off to the right. They're maybe about 3 feet in front of the back, but they're angled in, and one of them shoots to the far side, the other one shoots across to the other far side. So they spill in there and they light up behind her a little bit more, but I got both of the far sides covered with my strip boxes. And the umbrellas I have, one of them is one of those big, 60-inch, 5-foot Westcott, big, heavy black umbrella with a white liner, and the light is shooting right into it. So it's putting out this giant swirl of light on my right side back here, my right side. And the one on the left is actually a fanned out sort of winged umbrella. It doesn't go round, it goes sideways in an umbrella, which is cool for groups and settings. So you don't light the big circle, you light across the pan. And it's more of my fill, but they're both set at 1.8. And at 0.18, sorry, they're both set at 1/8. And it's a little bit of trial and error. What I do is, if you didn't ever order one of these things, because they went out of business, guys at Pounds Lab used to sell this really cool thing. Instead of a light meter, it's a square duotang spiral notebook, and it has a black, you can build one on your own. It's solid black. Do you have one? It's solid black, has a white rectangle in the middle of it with a black dot. And so when you're going to shoot this, you set your white balance to program, okay? And you hold that down and P starts flashing, and you go in there and you take a picture of the white and black, fill your frame with the white and black, boom, and then check it. It says, good, good, good. Okay, now we told the camera what the true color of this light is. And you leave it on that.
She's in the bedroom. It's okay. She's in the bedroom.
You have one of those?
Okay.
Okay, so that's how I set my white balance.
Yeah.
Okay, I wherever my lights are set up when I'm ready, I have my assistant stand right there where the spot is, hold it under their chin. I come up close to fill my frame with the black and the white rectangle, so it knows what black and white are, boom, and it says good, and my Nikon knows what true color is from now on. So my studio shots, those realtor shots, all that stuff is because I set a perfect white balance. And then you can shoot that square again and then look at the histogram. And if, looking at my picture here, if the two spikes in your histogram are evenly spaced from the edges like that, then that means your light setting is right. If it's too bright, look at my picture over here. Where am I? I got to figure out how to do this. If it's over here, it's too bright on your histogram. If it's over here, it's too dark. And you want to get the spikes to be right there, a little space between the black edge and a little space between the white edge. And if you got that between the black and the white that you were shooting, you are spot on your exposure. And of course, in Lightroom, you can adjust it a little bit later. But I don't hold up the Sekonic light meters anymore or do any of that. I just use that. My lights are good. My white balance is good. Let's rock and roll. And we try and keep it fast. Okay, this girl, another action shot. She's only an 8th grader at Riverwood. This girl's so good. Maybe she's a 7th grader, I'm not sure. And another ballerina. And then shooting the little ones is so much fun. These two girls were just having some fun. They don't even know you're taking their picture, but how priceless is that picture? I love that. Other ballerinas. And I was telling Cheryl Rowland, who owns Rowland School of Ballet, I said, Cheryl, your girls are so beautiful, so well trained. Your costumes are fabulous. You make me look like a good photographer. I mean, really, I got lights set up and I'm clicking away. And then you show this and everybody's like, oh, you're good. I'm like the sports guy, no, I'm not that good, really. They're good. This is some more of that art watercolor that I did. This girl was actually photographed right out in my studio, and it was just white background. There was probably junk in the background. I extracted her. I brought her into a white background, put some layers in there, and then added some brush strokes, and really had some fun with it. So, you know, it's just fun. It turns a regular picture into art. Now, here's my process for sports. You can see my paper over there. I got the white paper coming out. This is the guy, Alex. He's the instructor at Premier Martial Arts, which is right up there in that strip center next to Kingwood Photo, where Steve runs Kingwood Photo up there by All Spas. Premier, they're new. They're really, really good. This guy is dynamic and he teaches really good martial arts. So we start with an action shot. Then we go to remove.bg and we take him out as a PNG. And then we drag him into one of our templates. And we add titles on top of there and their logo and stuff. And then you print that. And, you know, people don't get pictures like that with their iPhone. You know, and so that's what I try to do with my sports. I try to give them something mama couldn't get with her iPhone. And so all of my high school kids now, for the most part, they get backgrounds. That's Kingwood Band. Okay. And I try not to be redundant in my graphics. I learned that in the video world. Just because you got transitions doesn't mean they need to be in your movie. You know, you see people woo, 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 spinning and starting sparks and flying, and you see it all the time in these sports templates. People will put Mustang Kingwood. No, we already know he's KM4B. That's what they call it. There's his logo. What year it was? That's enough. These were just his pictures, and you don't really put their name on a picture if it's going to their house. If it's a banner for the school, yeah, you blazon their name up there. You want to see Johnson, Ted, or whatever. So everyone on campus sees the good looking kid and they see his name and they know he's Johnson. And that's what we do with banners. But on pictures we send home, we don't think in your house you need to see your name on a picture. This hangs on the wall in the gym. It did years ago. But I do this for the volleyball team, the basketball teams. We take I bring in a very nice double diffuse softbox here. And it's again in a 600, or it didn't really matter. I had a little kicker on her hair. You can see up on the top left side of her head up here. She's got a kicker on her. But if you soften that light, it's what you were talking about with how close you get the umbrella. This wasn't really an umbrella. It was a soft box, but it's double diffused. It's got, not only does it have white inside and then white on the outside, but even between the light bulb and that, it's got like a beauty dish diffuser flying saucer. So right out of the cone comes a rod, and on the end of it stretches this upside down chrome saucer that boom, the light hits there, splashes back into the body of the softbox, then comes through the double diffusion filter, and you see just how soft that is on her skin.
Are these shoot through or reflective umbrellas when you're using those?
This is a shoot through. This is a shoot through. Yeah. It's got a Bowen's mount on it, and you reach through the zipper on the side and put the flying saucer on it. And then and it opens up, and it's about, I don't know, this is probably a 42, maybe 48 inch. And then the key on that is don't point it at her, point it out in front of her and let the feathered edge of the light catch her face. You're trying to get the softest light you can get to land on your subject. You can see the catch light and tell that I was above her and off to that side. And we have the kicker light on her. And it's on her shoulder there too, as a separation on the black background. But that's really the key. Even in my studio, I use the Godox. I use Flashpoint. They're from Adorama. They're very affordable. And the reason I use them is because they don't require any extra battery. They got a big chunky battery on the back. And that thing, I could shoot full throttle 700 shots before the battery goes dead. And I don't shoot full throttle. I shoot 1/8. Sometimes 1/32 in my studio, 1/4 for like a team or whatever. So, I mean, I could probably get 2,000 flashes out of a Godox 600. Flashpoint, they call them Flashpoint at Adorama. They make them too, the same light. And if you're like me, I don't need the TTL version, although I have it, because I'm not shooting that in TTL. You'd want TTL if you got a girl out there by a fence somewhere at a ranch and you want to put a special light on her. Well, you could put that up there and then shoot her in TTL, and that light will just give it enough light that it needs. Y'all aren't seeing all my hand gestures. It'll give us enough light that it needs, but most of my settings are set. I set my settings with my black square I told you about to know my exposure's right, and then I just get busy.
Steve, what do you mean by TTL?
TTL, through the lens monitoring. The light, It has a transmitter on top of the camera, an R2 transmitter, and it talks to all of the family of Flashpoint. It talks to the speed lights. It talks to the 600s, the 200s, whatever you got. Like tomorrow, I'm going to shoot Creekwood Dance, and I'll have 4 600s, 2 on the back screen and 2 up front in umbrellas. And I set the back ones at 1/8, and then I set the front ones at 1/8 plus 0.7 or something maybe. And then the trigger on top of my camera, that's a manual setting, and they'll always go the same every single time. But if you're out in some environmental thing where you don't want to walk the 50 yards to get close to the girl again, you could set that into TTL, and that camera through the lens says, ooh, she needs to lighten up a little bit. And the transmitter tells the light how much light to flash. TTL is only a problem when you shoot weddings and the guy's wearing a black tuxedo and a white shirt. Because if your sensor in your through the lens is pointing at his white shirt, you don't get much light. If it's pointing at his black jacket, boom, you get a lot of light. So when I go shoot a gala, I would put my speed light, which I put on top of my camera, old SB 800, and now I've got some other Godox versions, but I should put the speed light straight up in the air. I put one of those flash benders. They're really good. They're about 9 inches and they're about like this, and Velcro on the bottom, you know, and they're wide on one side, and they go behind your flash, and put that thing straight up so that when your flash explodes up, 50% of that comes back onto the white panel and splashes forward onto your subject as a very nice white light. So the colors look great. So you didn't point the flash at them, you pointed the flash straight up. You put the flash bender on it. You might put the flash compensation up a third because you're not really getting what you do. But on my old SB 800s, and I don't know about your flashes, you got a choice of TTL, which says the lens is going to feed information to the flash and tell it how much to flash. I go to the A mode for automatic. Automatic reads the distance, the f-stop, the shutter speed, and then tells it how much to flash, like the old rangefinders we would use. Okay, that's the difference. Automatic mode's not looking at what's through the lens. It's just saying, oh, your subject's that far away and you're shooting at ISO 400 at f4, then you're going to need this much light.
Do you do the, Steve, do you do the off-camera high-speed sync at all?
Yeah,
like outdoors?
I have those. Yeah, I do those. It's fun outdoors. Down to the fountains and stuff. You want to stop the fountain, so you got to shoot at 2,000th of a second. So you can shoot these do have HSS, high sync speed. Now
one thing when it's on TTL, I don't know if people know this, but it actually flashes twice for your picture. Once it sends it out and then reads what comes back.
Yep. And
then the second flash is the one that actually takes your picture.
Yeah, so you do get a touch more lag on a TTL setting.
Yeah.
But I did a wedding in my early years, 20 years ago. I did a wedding and I came home and half the pictures were overexposed and half were underexposed because I was TTL and the dude was wearing a black tuxedo and I didn't know any better. I had one single spot that I care about, but if it was on the wrong spot, you know, you got what you got because it was reading black or white. So that's when I learned shift to the A. I don't know if you're shooting Nikons or Canons or your 530s or whatever your flashes are, but look and see if you've got an auto setting, because that'll read distance and it'll read all your camera info and distance, and it'll know how much light to put out with what your settings are to light up that distance. So you get a lot more consistent stuff there. So anyway, and these are little league kids. And again, you know, I'm talking to them all the time. Hold that, look here. I take this kid's picture 3 times, punch him out, put it in a background, put some titles in front of it. You know, it's kind of like foreground stuff when you shoot a subject and you can get some leaves out in front of them and there they are in the forest behind them. Foreground's important. And so titles over people are important. Kingwood Park softball girls. These girls are shot in a hallway at the school. I use a Lastalite, 7-foot Lastalite. Look that up. It's one of those collapsible things. You fold the 3 ways and it turns into a circle. But when you unfold it, it's a giant like air mattress, weightless, and you stand it up 7 feet tall. And you stick one light in the side about waist high. You stick a speed light in there at 1/8, and you turn that a little bit back toward the back. And that's on your triggering system. And then out front, I've got a strip box. This girl is 3 feet from the box. And then my light is out about 7 feet in front of her, off to the right, my right. not by too much. I got to see your nose shadow. So it's off a little bit and it's up just a little bit. We got a jawline. We didn't just see throat into mouth. And then I'm shooting across her. And I usually have one of those stands that you unfold the fabric and it's shiny metallic with the four things that go out. You know, I don't know what you call those, reflector. And I put that just to the left side of him. Oh, on this side, she's got a reflector very close. On this side is my light, again, about 7 or 8 feet from her and shooting across. And it's set at about 1/8, maybe 1/8 and a third. And my settings on my camera are 350 or 320. What is the ISO? 320. 320 ISO. I'm shooting at 1/160th of a second, so I don't get any blur. And she's probably at f6.3. That's how it was shot. And again, then I punch her out. She was shot on the white background. I come home. It's a processor through Lightroom. I might take the clarity up 7 points because you can get away with that without edging them out. You got to watch their hair. Their hair will get really edgy if you over clarify. But I just bumped up for sharpness, and then I bumped the vibrance to 29 or so, and then run them all and remove background. Now is a program on my computer, and I can open it up and drag the whole batch of players in there at once and turn it loose, and it'll punch them all out and put them into the file where they came from, and there they are as PNG files right next to the original. And so on their order form, I've got their file number from their order form. With teams like this, see, she's covering up her number 9. So, but you know, I knew who she was. But most of my teams, I see their jersey number. I don't even have to take any of their information. I look, oh, 24. Look, yeah, this is 24, and I know who he is. But if they don't have, like the cross country kids don't have numbers, so you have to tell your assistant that was 6843, 6845, 6847. She writes it on their order form, and then I go through, and they're already punched out, and I drag them into their background. These are banners. That's why her name's on that. This is a 2-foot by 3-foot banner that hangs on the fence. It's a banner over at Spring High School. But this kid was just out in the middle of the field in an afternoon. You know, I stand out there with a softbox and a speed light. Boom, take his picture. He's got a great smile. And again, the secret: boost their vibrance. Don't overdo it with a bunch of graphics that are meaningless, like lightning bolts and thunder and crazy stuff. I mean, come on, man. This is Clayton Battles. He's number 7. The guy needs to be a hero. He's a senior, for crying out loud. Put him on the fence and let people be in love with him. Follow me? I'm really hardcore about that. I get people will tell me, "Oh, can we do the look?" No, we can't. It says Spring on his shirt. It's at Spring. We know where we are. We don't need any more stuff on there. Anyway. Okay, now we're into posing in groups. If you haven't taken any classes on posing, Hanson Fong or whatever gave a class I went to years ago. And the first rule in posing is when you get a big group of people like this together, you got to figure out who's most important. Okay, the husband and wife in the middle, it was their 50th anniversary. They've got to be in the middle of the picture, no doubt about it. Okay, they've got to be there. They're all their siblings and their grandkids and cousins, the whole thing. So they're the center. That got us started. Then you want to collect everyone in what we call A's and B's. A's are skinny and healthy, and B's are lumpy and thumpy. Okay? So you want to get all of your A's and put them in front of the B's. See the young girl hold on her grandpa's arm, and the young boy next to there, and the good-looking mom who's kind of thin, and the other one who's kind of turned sideways and thin. You pull all those thin people out front, and then you put the other people behind them. That's the first rule. Nobody wants to see 320 pounds of junk in the middle of a picture. Sorry, but they don't. And you don't want to do that to them. You don't want to preserve that for all time. You need to find another angle if that's their size and that's all you got to deal with. Then you need to find something else to do. But when you have a group like this, you start with the A's. You don't tell them they're A's. You don't tell them they're B's. You just say, hey, why don't we start with you right here? And you come over here and you come over here. And then here, you get behind her. And then the other rule of thumb is you want to fill in V's with their heads. Take your finger and go. And they're all V's. It's a mountain range. They're all V's. We try not to have totem poles. One girl cheated and wanted to get close to her boyfriend over here. She wasn't supposed to be on the right side of the picture, snuck her head in there. But of course, I was on the other side of the pool, a long way off with my flash going, barking out orders, being the crazy guy that I am, just trying to get 25 people all smile at the same time.
So how in the world did you light that, Steve? Would you
I
have
have
like 2 great big umbrellas on each side?
This was an umbrella would blow over out in the sun. So I don't think I had my umbrella. I think I had one of my strip boxes that I use for sports. And on my giant 600, I rotate it this way. So now the light's going horizontally across their faces instead of round. Okay, so I can get a strip box to spread like that. And it was back a bit from them on full power and way up at about 12 feet in the air. And the reason you want 12 feet, you see a little bit of it. I didn't get this perfect because, you know, it's a crowd. You're trying to hide the shadows on the people behind them. So if your flash is up above the people, the shadows will go down. You'll see the second row, a man's got a shadow on his chest, and the third row, they got shadows on their chest. But if you have it at head level, all those shadows are just straight off the heads.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you see some shadows, and you could go in Photoshop and try and lighten some of those up. You know, I can't guarantee you that I didn't lighten some of these up already. But the critical element to team photos and big family photos, we're going to flash through a few of them here, is when you find out how many are in the picture, then you want to lay it out so you've got odd numbered rows. Like if someone said we got 25 kids, like okay, 25, let's do 3 rows so we can do it 8, 8, 9. So we'll do 8 on the back row, 9 in the middle, 8 in the front. So I got 8 people across the front, 9 fill in the gaps and off the shoulders, and 8 fill in the gaps of those 9. 8, 8, 9 is 25. So you do the math like that, and that's how you line up these people.
Well, how the woman to the guy's his right doesn't look 50 years old. Did you touch?
You talk
that
about the lady in the black? Oh, the
Yeah.
lady, the 50th anniversary lady?
Yeah.
That's their mom. That's grandma. Oh yeah, she was pushing 72 maybe.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's well put together. And those are her daughters. 2 people over is her other blonde daughter, and right up above her right shoulder is one of her other daughters and her granddaughter. And they're all about they were pretty well put together. They live right there on the forest course. This was in their backyard over the forest course. But you see the pool crept in there, and I couldn't really get rid of the pool. I mean, yeah, I you know, their feet are hidden, but luckily, see, I found a step. So I got the front row and the step and the top row. And I actually have a couple of people on stools back there behind them. That girl in the very center of the picture, she's actually probably on a stool back there. I always bring stools with. I'm doing a group shot like this. I bring 7 to 12 stools, the little 9-inch fold up things that you buy over there at Home Goods. And there's some really good stools they sell at Harbor Freight. They sell a 14-inch aluminum collapsible stool for about $20. It goes on sale. And you can bring that thing out and put 6 of them in a row. And it's just like an aluminum bench back there to elevate the top row. But in all of these pictures, the critical element is faces. It's all about faces. We really don't care about people's shoes or their knees. In almost all of my portrait photography work, I try to eliminate legs and shoes and feet and socks, and because people just don't want it. They just don't want to see that. Now, this is cheating. I just had to show you all this. This was during COVID. I got so much business in COVID because I'm an extractor. Each of these girls were photographed individually, and then I built them into this bouquet of beauty.
Wow.
So every girl you look at is well lit. She's beautiful. She's paying attention. No blinks, no wind blowing their hair. And that's just one of my favorite pictures of all time. Pretty cool, huh? The director decided how they were going to be. The officer in the front, she said, you lay down and put your legs this way, and you go put your legs that way. And then you girls do this and your 2 elbows. And so the director had the vision and told them how to stand. And she drew me a chart and told me who went where. And I just lay them in there on layers, 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 layers. And that is just, it, you know, not bragging, but it just doesn't get much better than that. Of course, they're beautiful to begin with. So again, once again, I'm not as good as they are. A good subject makes for a good picture. But that's cheating, okay? That they didn't really stand there. And I painted some shadows in and did a pretty crappy job of the shadows again. But people aren't looking at their feet. They look at that splash of 46 faces and they love it.
Steve,
Wow, that's terrific. That's a terrific picture.
that is. Steve, how long did it take you to compose that, to build that all together?
Oh, I probably spent 4 or 5 hours on it.
Okay.
Yeah. But each of the girls, here's the math for you guys. Each of those girls had to pay $20 for their 8x10 print. I got 46 girls, probably 44 of them paid for it. So I got $880 in that one picture.
Okay.
Plus I photographed them individually, and their moms got to buy them on the stool and on the ground and this pose and that pose. And so I made a lot of money on them that day.
So do you start in the back and like put a line and so that their
No.
hats are on that arc, and then you move the next one down, the next one down?
Well, I knew which one they were. So what you do is in Lightroom, when you shoot their pictures for this pose, your camera position, your focal length needs to stay at 50 millimeters. Don't move your camera. Don't zoom in, zoom out, zoom. So when I get to Lightroom, they are all in true proper size perspective. And then I can crop Lightroom in the original mode. And as long as I crop the first one down a little bit and then go down the line and say sync them all, then they're all the right size of the way they were photographed. And then I get the list of the girls that need to go on row 1, and I pull them in one at a time after I've extracted them. And then I put them in the order they want. I'm dragging and dropping them. There's, what are there, 8 girls, 7 girls there? There's 7 layers, and I call it row 1. And then I position them so that this girl's elbows are in front of the other 2 girls. Their elbows are in front of the next girl. Their elbows are in the front. So I layer them. Now I've got row 1, and they're all in their position. Then I find the girls for row 2, and there's 8 of them. So I find those 8 girls and I position them like I want them. And then I shrink them just the tiniest bit. I grab it as a group. I want all of these to be linked. And then I go to the Control T and I shrink them just a little bit because they're supposed to be farther from the lens than those first girls. Right?
Steve, a question. Do you use Lightroom or Photoshop or both?
I use
predominantly.
both.
Which one do you use?
I start with Lightroom and I adjust for exposure, vibrance, and cropping. And then I'll tend to go to remove BG and extract file where they're all kept under individuals. And then I know what their file number was and I build them. But I'm a Lightroom guy all the way. Yeah. And it's so easy. Honestly, I probably only use about 6 things in Lightroom. I mean, I don't use all of that book and SWEB and printing. I just don't. I use the library. I load them into a folder, and then I go through and I use the triple view. Show me 3 at a time. I look at the 3 and I go, oh, 2, that's the best one. 3 at a time. 2, that's the best one. That's my culling. I cull that way. I look at 3 at a time. But I typically take people's picture 3 times. They might not have a great expression. What?
Have you experimented with Portrait Pro, I think they call it?
Portrait Pro. I have Portrait Pro 21.
Well,
I have the one
it's kind of an overdone program, to be honest with you.
I have Portrait Pro 21 where I could beautify people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that. I didn't do it on these girls, but I could have. When I had them all in a Lightroom folder, I could run the whole batch through Portrait Pro 21 and set my settings that all I care about is skin surface, that I just want their skin and blemishes to be, wrinkles to be reduced. But you got to watch out because Portrait Pro 21 will throw some eye makeup on them. And I've had some backlash on that. They look really pretty when you look at it. And then you show it to their mom and she goes, my daughter would never wear underline. They're like, oh, sorry. As a guy, I don't know about that stuff, but you got to watch out because Portrait Pro will make them a lot prettier than they really are. So you go into all the little settings there, and then you might want to move the light thing. It says it starts right here, and you move the light over this way a little bit. But yeah, and I'll run them all through there. I do that with headshots. I'll get a pretty, 21 ugly guys for some construction company. I mean, they're ugly. And I run them through Portrait Pro and I tell them these are males and what do you want to do? And I just want to I want to reduce the wrinkles and the crow's feet. I want to clean up their skin. I want to whiten their teeth just a little. And that's all running through there. And then I go each one and get rid of, ugly scars and things. But it's good. I got more programs than I have time to use. It's sad. I heard y'all talking about Luminar. I think I've got that and I never looked at it. And I'm a sucker. I got to stop buying stuff because I don't have time to use it all. Anyway, enough of these girls, right? We're ready to move on. Sorry. I'll keep you guys here. I'm in share mode. Where am I? Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, so this is a real picture of volleyball girls. Again, so you see the V's. And I tell these, now one of the secrets I use for teams like this is I don't put the shortest girls in the front row because their whole life, the shortest girls are on the front row. And these are 8th graders. And so I tell them flat out, I want to know how many kids we have. We got 29 kids here. Okay, so what's 29? And I'll do, well, that's going to be 10 and 10 and 9. Okay, good. I got a 10, 9, 10 in my layout or whatever. Okay, so I need 10 girls for the front row, but I got 10 girls in the back row. So I'll line them up tallest to shortest. Give me the tallest 10 girls I have. And I don't know if that's exactly what the numbers are here. The tallest 10 girls are definitely going on the back row. And then give me the shortest 9 girls, and y'all stand over here for a minute. And give me the middle 10 that are left over. You girls are on the front row. So you take your middle ones and drop them down on a knee and let the shorter ones fill in the gap now, which they can because the girls are on a knee. And then even if you want, have them put their hands on their thighs and bend down a little bit. But I'm trying to get their number to show. I'm trying to get their face to show. Girls in the back row. So you start with the front row. You move in the middle row. You push up here up close. Get them between their ears. Move your number up between their ears. Got to see your face. And then you get the back row girls and push on up here. Tell the back row girls they're allowed to stand on their toes because we can't see your feet in the picture. And they all get to elevate a little bit, tuck a few coaches in there, and then take the picture 5 times. See the volleyballs, every other girl has a volleyball. The girl in the middle, so she's 2 hands, the other hands are the same. But the secret to these kind of shots is the symmetry, you know, of making it balanced. We don't have totem pole heads. And also tell them, look at the girl next door to you. We don't allow turtleneck hair, okay? Clear their neckline. That's beauty in a woman. Move the hair off of their neckline. Show it if you got it. That's fine. Hair's a feature, but we're not going to let it creep in the picture and cover up your neckline. And they're all like, oh, really? So anyway, hear how bossy I am? You have to be bossy with 7th and 8th graders. But hey, when it turn out a picture that they like, you get called back next year. So there you go. Okay, what else do we have here? Oh, this is one more thing I was going to, jumped ahead. Oh, here we are. When you get kids together and groups together, you want, now it's really jumping on me. You want them to touch each other. These are the seniors on the volleyball team. Oh, well, let's lay down and do this. So they lay down there and they got a 3 and a 4 and they're stacked, but then you got to ask them, squeeze in on each other. And even with those families, when you get family groups of 5 or 10 or 8 or 4 or whatever, they're all standing there like, the mom and pa shot, Mount Rushmore or whatever. At the end, my rule is touch the people you love, touch them. Reach up and put your hand on their forearm. Put your arm around your wife. Put your arm around your son. Touch each other because we love each other. And then after they take a few pictures, then say, now everyone squeeze in close to grandma, squeeze in close. And it gets them all out of their comfort zone. They're doing something they didn't think they would do. And so they laugh a lot more and it's really natural and they're in and they always love that picture. So it's the last thing we do, but they always love the picture. And then you go black and white and you can fool them with black and white. Everybody loves black and white for some reason. But this is when you're a photographer, when you got, what is that? Seven pieces of work. Oh, I just wanted to share that with you all. They aren't all winners. Look at that. And I think I did that for them as a joke. It wasn't their final picture, but it was close. That's why you can't let moms in the room when you're photographing these kids because they don't look at the camera, they look over at the mom. And I can't even tell you how many people in my career have looked at the light instead of the camera. So I always tell them, eyeballs go into the lens, right here in the lens, and we're all smiling. Get your game on. We shoot on 3. I only count to 2. I'm triggering on 3. Here we go. 1, 2, click. Okay, that's my routine. This is another family. Now, I put this for a couple of reasons. They got 4 kids and 2 parents. Okay, mom was a B. She's on the back row. The daughters here are athletes. The other daughter's a middle schooler. But I love the scenery. Again, people aren't going to talk about the scenery, but it's earthy and stone and greenery. And she chose a beautiful color palette. So they all didn't show up in black or show up in white. Find something. I always tell them this, Mom, you decide what you look best in. We're starting with you. Find your favorite color. Did I freeze up? Can y'all hear me still?
Yes.
Can you?
We can hear you.
We're good. We're good, Steve.
But he's frozen now.
Oh, now he's frozen. He just froze. Okay, Steve. We'll wait.
You hear me still? Are we done?
Yeah, no, you just froze for a second here. You're back.
Okay, I don't see my picture moving in the frame. Can you still hear me though?
Yeah, we can see you move and everything else.
Okay, cool. So that was mine. So anyway, we start with the mom, whatever you look best in, you're the key, you're the matriarch. We start with you, and then we find colors that accent and play off of that. So she could have picked some checks or some stripes or some plaid, all in the navy blue and light gray and white and cream sort of color to blend this, but she went earth tones because they were. And the same here. Mom picked the color, and then she picked the other colors for the family. Now, my internet connection is unstable. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can do. We're
Okay,
fine.
good. Okay, so here's a little something. Again, when you're shooting portraits, it's not about the location. I shoot so many people in flower beds and esplanades and places. I want to get some tree bark, some stonework. He's a guy, he needs some structure, and then make it about him. This just was a typical little speed light that was photographed on a 20-inch or 16-inch softbox. One of those little things that expands out and goes right on top of your speed light on a stand up here, and it lights up his face and his upper torso. Okay, so where are we going to shoot? This is the bridge, and I have a bone to pick. I see everybody wants to photograph their family and their kids and stuff on the bridge, and they miss the whole point of the bridge, which is the same thing people miss when they go up and shoot at St. Martha, where you'll see some of my pictures, or Fondren Orthopedic, or the Stone. Oh, let's shoot him in front of this brick wall. And they line him straight up in front of the checkerboard brick wall with a mortar going like this and someone right in front of it. And they think they did a picture in front of the brick wall. They know nothing about vanishing point, that the lines need to lead out of the picture and that you need to shoot down the line, not square on it. And like the bridge, I mean, there's so much, what do you call that? Patina and texture with the rust and the rails and the things down there, and it was perfect for her color that she was wearing. But I see people and they're just standing out in the middle of the concrete. Look, we got our picture taken. We're on the bridge. I'm like, oh my God. The last thing I want to see is somebody's picture in front of the Sam Houston Monument down at Herman Park. And I'm trying to take someone's picture and everyone instead's going, oh, that's the Sam Houston Monument. I'm like, failure. We didn't want them to look at where you were. We want to look at you, for crying out loud. This girl just turned 6. I always try to photograph 6-year-olds before their teeth fall out. People that I care about, I contact them and I say, we have to take her picture before her teeth start falling out, because after they turn 7 and they get turned into snaggletooth, they're really not going to be that photogenic until they're 13. They're going to have some missing here and missing there. And then so this girl's only 6, but it's one of my favorite things. There's a crutch you'll see in my pictures. If you go to my website, which is stevebrack.com, there's a ton of pictures to see on there. I am a sucker for repetitive feature. I've always been enamored with the bride out in front of the big church with the columns, and there she is with the big white columns. That's always one of my favorite pictures. And so this is at St. Martha, right over there in North Park. Fabulous opportunity with these columns. When I process this picture, I'll actually come in and I did have a flash on her. You see the shadow on the wall behind her. So I did have a flash over there to light her up some. And while we're talking about this again, you got to bend the limbs. Y'all probably know E.J. Tall. I think he's been a member of your club over the years. Dr. E.J. Tall. He told me, if it bends, we bend it. Okay. That's the rule in photography, especially with women. If it bends, we bend it. Okay. So she's got a foot back. I don't like the leg in what's a number 4 position where she pulls her shoe all the way up on the wall and she got a big old number 4 going down there. I'd rather see the foot down with the angle. She's touching the stone. Oh, I'm in touch with the stone. And she's got to bring her left hand into the picture. You can't shoot people with only one arm showing. You got to keep their hands in there. And then if she was older and a senior or whatever, then I'd have her take that left hand and reach up and grab her hair and pull her hair out like it's a Clairol commercial or whatever. And then lean back against the wall and fold your arms. But give them same location, different positions. Okay. So anyway, that's a cute girl. And that was fun. That was just a couple of weeks ago. Here again, sometimes with these kids, mid thighs where I like to crop. And you don't always have them looking in the camera. This girl's dreaming about her future. That's what I tell them. I want you to look off there and see Nacogdoches and Stephen F. Austin. Can you just imagine what it's going to be like next year? And then I take their picture a bunch of times, and their parents love those pictures. Trying to go. Let's see. Try that one.
Steve, do you have, how many more slides do you have?
I can go faster. I know that I'm long-winded. I'm almost done.
Okay,
I don't have many more.
okay.
What do you got? What do you got? 2 minutes?
5.
5? Okay, well, then again, here's repetitive feature. Kid's all proud of the fact that he's FFA senior. Doesn't always have to be about his face. That's down at Deerwood. They really messed up that porch at Deerwood. That was one of my favorite spots. They messed it up. Here's a kid. This is just to show you that always get them in a different posture. Every kid can stand up and lean on a deal or whatever. You got to change up their posture in their process. You don't want to give them 12 pictures of the same damn thing. So I make them sit and do some different stuff.
Steve,
This
what's
is
your
a-
favorite? Steve, what's your favorite lens? Is 70 to 200 or something like
For
that?
seniors and kids and outdoors is 70 to 200. And I shoot a lot at 3.5 because sometimes my 2.8s aren't as sharp as I wanted to be. 3.5 a lot. But this picture here, this is a weed patch over there on the other side of the freeway near Lone Star College. So I always keep my head on a swivel looking for places that might offer me a chance. And unfortunately, I don't have insurance to guard that she didn't get snake bit when I made her wander out there. But the picture turned out nice. Here's a family on the road to nowhere, one of my other favorite locations now because they're going off to college. So people don't like me to shoot the railroad tracks anymore. So I found another location that still has that vanishing point where the road's going away. But this family, they showed up dressed for their daughter and they just wanted to have some fun. And we did. Here's some kids on the deck at my house with their little baby brother was just born. This is a family. Again, if you take a family out, there's 5 of them in the picture. I probably shot this at f4 because they're fairly close. The background goes buttery. Doesn't matter what park they were at, where they were, and they love the kid. And there's 2 grandmothers and the husband and wife and their little 3-year-old son. You should take that picture 20 times until you get both the grandmoms to finally look right. Here again, St. Martha. St. Martha, I mean, I'm giving you all that location. I don't own it, but look at that tile. You know, you got the columns, you got the tile, you got so much going on there that's just beautiful texture. And then again, if it bends, we bend it. She got a nice S curve with her butt sticking out, her shoe up, turning a little bit this way. I don't really like to shoot people facing into columns, but she wanted to, and there it is. This is a picture of a mother and son in Austin, Texas, and it's just because he graduated and she was proud of him. I threw a little texture on it just because they're friends of mine. This is my wife and her 2 sisters at the beach. Here again, this is Fondren Orthopedic with the dad in one of those family shots. You just got to get them touching and loving on each other because they don't get pictures like this. Here's the girl jumping I told you about at Kingwood Park. Get way back so you can put her car between you and the high school and get the title in there. And then I got a flash that's over to the left on a flash stand, bare bulb shooting right at her to light her up a little bit. Blue bonnets are cool. They happen, you know, right there off of High Valley every single year on the 2nd week of March. You don't need a lot of blue bonnets in your picture, so don't worry if the whole hillside's not blue. Just find you a little patch that works. And then if you're good in Photoshop, you could actually copy and paste a few of them in there to fill in other sections of the picture with more blue bonnets and get away with it. Again, a girl dreaming about her future. I probably colored some of those blossoms in there. They were there, but I added a few just to add touch. Here's a girl, I used a flash on her in the middle of the day. This was a high sync shutter speed. Bright sunlight, look at the shadow on the ground. That is direct sunlight, but I put a big light on her, boosted the shutter speed way up to darken the world, and then set my f-stop so she would light up. This is my granddaughter, just catching her at dinner. And I do these composites commemorating a kid's high school career. This girl is a golfer. She's the daughter of Jeff Belknap, the golf coach at Kingwood High. And she played all of her golf at Deerwood. So I went down there and shot her in a bunch of different poses, extract these out, bring them in, drop them in. Deerwood's in the background right there, you can see. And she's got a lot of looks. This is an open garage door with light coming in when this kid was there. And I just loved the way the northern exposure light caught that. That's a real longhorn that was in a field next to a shopping center in Fort Worth. I added the sky. Tennis shots. This hangs on a big banner at their tennis court at their home. This girl's a senior at Kingwood right now. She's all district champion. These are business headshots for an orthodontist, cosmetic dentistry group. They all have $1 million smiles. The girls are beautiful. Put some pastel colors behind it. That's a piece of artwork on the wall. So you just try and find that and then line them up behind it. This is Lariette from Westfield High School. I go over there with white paper and photograph all these girls that don't get magazine sessions. They love it. Here's another composite I did for a kid that played ball at Kingwood Park. But I mean, I don't get orders for this much, but I love it. I think it's one of the greatest things you could have to 20 years from now, show your kid that, yeah, I played ball in high school. Proud of that. And then whenever I do, like they do this mother-son dinner for the baseball team, and only the mothers and their sons show up. And each son has to stand over the podium and read a letter that he wrote to his mom. It's a tearful evening. And so I show up and I take pictures of each boy with his mother because, you know, people don't raise their hand and say, hey, I think we need a session for me and my son. So if they're gussied up and they're dressed up and they're looking good, we need to take their picture, and they get this for $30. They didn't have to hire a photographer, go to a studio. We're all set up. I'm using a big softbox on her. See a kicker on her hair. And that's the end of the show right there. That's the end. So where do I go back? Stop share. Boom.
Stop share, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Hey, fabulous, fabulous, great.
Okay, any questions?
That was amazing. Can you send, you mentioned something about remove PG or whatever? What
Yeah,
is that?
remove.bg. That's their website, remove.bg, as opposed to remove.com. It's remove.bg. And you could go there. It doesn't cost very much money. And then I signed up. Of course, I have like 6,000 credits or whatever because I'm on a monthly redo, you know, but it's worth it. You know, there's other places. There's what's the other one we use? Retouchup.com. Retouchup will fix any picture you have. You got a picture and your Uncle Jimmy's in there and he's no longer a part of the family. You send that to Retouchup, and for $10, they'll take Uncle Jimmy out of there and send you the family portrait back. Retouchup.com.
Steve, what brand of camera do you use?
I shoot a D750 Nikon. All my gear's Nikon, so I can't switch. I'm too old to go.
Those
I'm
are
too old to
great.
go mirrorless.
Hey, Jim, are you happy? You still use 750, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah. I learned for the best.
I've had them all. I had the 7,000, the 7,100, the 7,200, the 750. I have a couple of 750s. I still keep a 7,500 that I got for sports because I like the 1.5 factor of getting my 200 to a 300. But I don't shoot much sports. I don't shoot much sports anymore.
Yeah. Do you?
I'm like the rest of you. I'm like the rest of you guys. I probably have way more gear than I have time to use.
Yeah. And Steve, just another question on just removing background. Why not use Photoshop, select subject, invert the selection, and then zap it?
It takes way too much time. Okay. On remove BG, you say upload a picture, and it's there, and you hit remove HD, and it says this one, and it shows you kind of what it looks like, and you say yes, download it, done.
Okay.
20 cents.
All right.
20 cents.
In background, you can set up in Photoshop, you can set up an action to batch process a bunch of those pictures like that.
Yeah. But remove BG also, I have it on my desktop as a program, and I can open it up, and it opens up like a square window, and I can drag the whole folder in there and say save them to individuals, you know, wherever it is, and say start, and I could go eat breakfast and come back. Seriously, in 7 minutes, they've done 85 kids. It's ridiculous.
It is.
I mean, it wasn't this way years ago.
Yeah.
But remove PT.
Remove.bg.
BG.
Background. Remove.bg as in background.
BG
hey guys,
and you know, there's Rabuku. There's Rabuku. All the people in the sports world have Rabuku, and they got Next Gen, and there's all these places that'll do it for you. I mean, you could go take your pictures and just send them straight over. They'll remove them. They'll put them in your background. They'll add your names. They'll do it all, and they'll send it back to you 4 days later, ready to print. But you got to pay them. And I'm a one-man band, and I'd rather just do it here and keep the money. So,
amazing. This has been very, very interesting.
Hey, Steve, as long as we're talking, Steve, I just want to ask one more question. We record these meetings and then we put them out for the club members. It's a YouTube thing, but it's linked. Is that okay? We're okay.
Fine with me. Yeah, you're cool.
Okay.
There's no secrets. There's no secrets of photography. You know that.
All right.
No, this is, you know, I could see trying to learn some of this stuff, but it just looks like it would be terribly long time for me.
Well, it probably would. Yeah, you have to decide what kind of photographer you are. If you love people and you know my personality, I boss these kids around. I run the show. I'm in there running it, and I like people. And some of them may love me or not love me or whatever, but it works for me.
Mhm.
I can't just roam around a real estate property and shoot the bedroom and shoot the bathroom and shoot the kitchen all by myself for 2 hours and come back and process it and straighten it all up the angles and send it in and have some lady send me $130.
What
It
did
was,
you, what
what-
did you mean about the thumb? You said that you use the thumb. Is that to
What
put
thumb?
space between the group shots?
Oh, no, he was talking about the histogram, the peaks on the histogram.
Oh, I was trying to show you, you know what a histogram is, right?
Yeah.
On your monitor, when you look on the back of your camera, and instead of looking I look in highlights mode and look for the blinkies.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of big time photographers don't use light meters anymore. They shoot and then they look in highlights mode, and whatever they see blinking, if it's just the background of the sky, they're like, okay, I didn't want the background of the sky anyway. And so they just go ahead and shoot where they're at. But if you have any blinkies on their face or somewhere, then you got to bump up your f-stop or speed up your shutter speed or something to bring that light down. Or
Now,
reduce your light.
when you're arranging the group shots, you want to make sure that all the heads are separate. So you said that you go around, I thought, with the thumb just to make sure that their heads are separate.
Oh no, I stand back and I look and I'll say, you on the third row, you need to move over a little bit. I tell them point blank, I say, you're here in the V's. We're looking for V's. We don't accept totem pole heads. So wherever you are, you need to put your head between their ears. You've got to be between their ears.
Okay. All right.
And make sure they know that. And then some of them don't pay attention and some will kind of wander this way and wander that way. And, you know, you really got to get bossy with those groups.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Wow.
when they see the picture, they're like, wow, because it's like the Fighting Texas Aggie band. If everybody's in position and synchronized and they're doing their thing, woo, that's the greatest thing to engineers. You ever think about that? That's an engineering college. That's why they love the Fighting Texas Aggie band. All the parts work like they're supposed to, and they all go, yes. That's like I always joke with that.
Well,
The difference
I have a
between
feeling-
Aggies.
I have
What?
a feeling Jim is going to want to view this because he was sorely upset that he was going to have to miss this meeting tonight.
Oh,
He was looking forward to it.
Hey,
So,
Kathy,
yeah.
what's the one with the magnet that we use, you and I have on top, the rubbery
Magmod?
thing? What's it
Mag-
called?
Mod.
Yeah,
Mag-
Magmod. Yeah, Steve, have you used a Magmod before?
No, I've seen it before. I almost all of my people that I photograph now, I shoot with the I think go man, whatever. It's a square softbox, 19 inches wide, and I believe it's double diffused, and it has a round rim on the end. So you put a holder on top of your light stand, and then you stretch the edges of that around it, and it's out, and your light goes in there. I used to use those light stands where you stood the light inside the little tiny thing and screwed the shoe in, and your light stood there, and those fell off so much. So now I've gone to these new light stands. I can show you one real quick if you want me to show you. But I'm really, hold on 2 seconds. It's right here in my camera.
Yeah. Well, Kathy used that Magmod, and her photos are really, really well lit. I mean, all the way around, bounces off the ceiling and everything.
Yeah, no, the Magmod actually is a very nice diffuser. So I use it a lot. So while he's getting the diffuser, after we're done, we'll break for what, 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll do share and learn.
Okay, so here's the stuff I use. I used to use these kind of things on top of my stands, and you'd have to screw the shoe of your flash in here and tighten it down on the side and tighten it down on the top. And then the wind would come and it wouldn't quite catch. And I used those. And then all of a sudden I found these guys, they go onto your flash stand like this. And this round ring here, it'll hold a Bowen's mount. If you've got any soft boxes, you see the 3 slots, you can stick a Bowen's mount right on it. And then what's cool is you stick your flash in here like this and tighten this down. So your flash is hanging out like this. and it doesn't fall off anywhere. You've tightened it down. You can leave it in there between the next stop you go to and put the modifier on it. So any kind of modifier, this will hold the big soft double diffuse, triple diffuse soft light because the Bowens mounts, and it bolts good on the stand. And this is the flash that I really cannot say enough good stuff about. Flashpoint, the 600. And they sell a 400 and they sell a 200 and now I think a 300, but this guy's about $650, but look for Black Friday sale at Adorama. They'll have it marked down at about $389 or some crazy number. I used to pay that for an SB 800, and it's got everything you'd want. It protects the bulb's about $100, but the beautiful thing is it all right here on the side, it lights up. And then when you say, oh, I can't really see there, you've actually even got this. You can turn on some modeling light through your diffuser. So you can, you turn on some modeling light if you're in a studio, or what's it on? It's set at 1/2. Hold on, boom. It's crazy. It'll go all day long. And this is the battery on the back. Let me turn it off.
Kat,
This is the battery.
Can you quit sharing screen so we can see his stuff bigger?
Oh,
This is the battery on the back. If you see that. Okay, so you just plug this battery in. It's lithium ion. It charges. You come over here, and wherever you go, you don't have all those battery packs and cables and cords or anything. And you just take this thing and easier said than done. Just click it on the back, and I'm serious. I could shoot, and then here. All the adjustments are all visible. It responds to the R2 transmitter. I can change all of the settings right here with this dial. I can tell it what channel. I can put them all on 4 different channels, all on the same trigger. It's a fabulous light to own, and it will overpower the sun, and it will go. I don't have it triggered here right now, but it will go high sync speed right here. This button H right here that I can push. Right here, boop, and it'll go high sync. It'll shoot at 4,000th of a second, so you can get right out there in the free world, and there's a little H lit up on it right there. So you could take this out in broad daylight and overpower the sun, give that dramatic look, because that's another thing is, anybody can pull out the camera and they get all the exposure that the world offers. But when you can start making your pictures a little bit more dramatic with dark backgrounds and lit subject, which I didn't say because y'all already knew it, but in a portrait, the face has got to be the brightest thing in a portrait. Always has to be the face.
well, Steve,
Face with a jawline.
This has been amazing. This has been really, really, I've learned a lot. Things that I hadn't thought about. You brought out for me. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
So, all right. Let's go ahead and get this going so that we can all go get dinner or something. And
Well, this was, of course, a couple of our club folks. So I included it, even though it's not my best picture of reflection. It is something, you might put on Facebook and just say, hey, we had fun. And this was a beautiful shot. I actually got this with nobody in it, but I thought it had some interest being this part of our club. And I know that, because
look at that guy there.
I like that.
Oh, it's got the same.
I wonder who that is.
Somebody else got this. And this is in Alaska near a glacial lake. You have the beautiful blue water, and I was just kind of walking along and took this picture.
That is pretty.
Turned out really nice.
Bill.
Yes, this is the intersection of Highway 59 and Beltway 8. Driving along late one afternoon and saw the makings of a good sunset, pulled off, and lucky to get this picture on a busy street. This was,
that's cool.
Yes, that was, I believe, in Wyoming. I've forgotten the lake it was on, but anyway, I thought that minute I saw that, I thought it was a good picture.
It's nice that you have the clouds in that lower left-hand corner, so it's not too blank in there.
Yes, yeah,
Right here.
yeah.
And the repetition is cool. Yeah.
And this is Kingwood Lake. Just walking along when they taking my daily walk and saw the nice cloud, unusual formation and perfect reflection in the water. And
That's an iPhone.
yes.
Yeah.
Nice
That was
calm day.
cool.
So
And Chris.
Oh, hi.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, man.
Well, here's our, what do they call it? Canadensis bronta or something Latin name. But anyway, a Canada goose. Years ago, my daughter had to write a paper about what her father hunted. And she said, my father likes to shoot Canadians. And it's like, no, I like to shoot Canada geese. But I will tell you, okay, so you can see a little bit in the neck. I tried to remove it, but in the shadows, the dark water was going green. And so I used that's where you use the highlight slider and you pull a little green out because it was looking a little weird color. So I just wanted the white, black, and blue. But anyway, it was just some geese, they stay around all year long now. And here, car shows are a great place for reflections.
Yeah, they are.
I love the chrome and all this. And I happened to walk by this, whatever, old, probably a Bel Air or something from the 50s. And I saw this little reflection and I said, oh, that's kind of cool.
That's very cool.
It is.
It is cool.
And if you've ever been up to Juneau in the summer, I happened to be transiting through there to get the ferry and then catch a plane out the next morning. But we had dinner down in the harbor, and of course, there's nothing but ships. And as we walked along, this pretty ship had a perfect reflection. So.
Nice.
Bonnie.
Speaking of Alaska, I took a whole different turn on the word reflection. I reflected that I should show you all my pictures from my bear trip in August. This is my little montage to my mother bear and her triplets. And this is where she's caught a fish and a salmon and has brought it over right beside David. And this is two of them. The other one's kind of running around in the back.
Awesome.
And here's Mama with her three, where she's caught another one and split it in about 2 seconds into 4 pieces so they could all have some.
Huh. Aw.
Oh, man.
And now we have another bear coming down the upstream at them. And as you can see, they're all looking that direction. I don't know if you can see the third bear back behind Mama. That's just a little nose and a little ear at the tip.
Uh-huh.
Connie, what kind of bears are those? They're not grizzlies, are they?
They're brown bears.
Brown bears.
They're grizzly bears.
They're grizzly, but they
They're
refer
grizzly.
to everything up there as brown bears.
They're brown bear, and inland they call them grizzlies, the same bear.
Yeah.
To the hump.
Wow.
Then
Wow, that's
David.
awesome.
Cool, dude.
I kind of followed Connie's theme, so she sent me to it, so I'm blaming on her. I was going to say I was taking reflections I saw on my camera when I looked to the single-in reflex. Got the mirror, so this was a reflection off my mirror.
Yeah.
But the thing I like this is almost a full-frame picture. Is how close we were to the bears. But the thing I like, I tried to get expressions on the face of the bears. And I love the expression. He's looking like, you're not coming to get my fish,
Yeah. That's,
The water droplets are so cool.
oh, yeah. I mean, that looks like one wet bear.
Oh,
They are.
yes,
They're
are.
swimming. They're swimming for it.
Just come out of the water.
Oh,
See?
wow.
And here's the mama bear that Connie took a picture. See the 3 cups in the background?
Uh-huh.
That's a full frame picture on the 400 millimeter lens. She's coming right at us, coming
Right
up
at us.
on out of the water right towards us. And the other bears, the little cubs, are coming to get their dinner. They're ready.
Oh, she ended up about
you and the
10
bears?
feet from you, David, right?
No, yeah, she's.
It's pretty close. I don't know where she was. Probably 10
At
15.
what point do you run?
You don't.
You don't.
No.
You don't want to become dinner.
That's the last thing you're gonna try. But she's not interested in you. She's got the fish in her mouth. That's all she wants is that fish.
I think they became interested in us though, that she could bring her fish over there near us and wouldn't have the other bears come get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it's the facial features is close enough. This is the 3 of them waiting, looking for mom, see what she's doing.
They heard splashing.
Those are excellent.
Yeah.
Emily.
Here is I've been very occupied this week, so I just read through some of my photographs and grabbed some that showed some reflections, and it's just a great white on the river.
Mhm. And then Seattle.
Now this one is Seattle across from across Puget Sound. My sister lives across Puget Sound, and I looked up one night, and we were walking out the door, and I saw this massive moon rising up behind the mountains. And the next night I was ready, you know. But I will tell you that the reflections are fake. It was so dark, there was no reflections on the water. So I copied some of the lower lights, flipped them upside down, and then I smudged them a little bit to make them look water.
It looks good.
Yeah, it does.
And then this is right across from Lake Houston Parkway from Zamides. It's a beautiful sunset reflected in the water there.
Mhm. Jim is not here. So he told me what this is. This is Convict Lake near Bishop, California. And he liked the pebbles that were in the water. And this is Upper Yosemite Falls with, I think it's River Mercer River.
Merced.
Yeah.
Mercer.
And then this is East End Park at Pelican Point.
Wow.
And that's an iPhone. One morning walking, gorgeous. And he took the picture and he said, now put that one in. So that is Jim. John Gray.
Good evening. This is the cisterns in downtown Houston. And took my widest lens that I could to take this picture. And it's interesting that the columns appear to be growing out of the water, but that's only because that's a reflection.
Cool.
It's real artistic looking. That's really cool,
Yeah.
John.
It's been a few years since we went down there.
Yeah, we ought to go there again sometime.
They have a special program going on right now that I believe they have music and extra lighting in there. I'll do a little research on it.
Yeah,
please do.
This is an evening photograph off of Caddo Lake when I went up there last spring. The sun is just right behind that tree. And I forgot to drop my aperture down to f/22, so it's just kind of a blur behind the tree instead of a nice sparkle.
Oh, wow.
This bird is called a paraloxia, and it's a photograph on one of the photograph trips that I took down to South Texas with Ruth Hoyt. And it's kind of cool to be able to get a really still pond with birds that come down to drink and take a bath and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that is a really nice photo.
That's nice.
Wonderful.
Okay, Ron.
Okay, this is just turtles in the water, and it caught my attention because it looked like an alligator coming up to eat the turtle, and actually it was nothing but a root piece. So I thought I was going to have some really cool pictures to share. So next one. This is in England at Buckingham Palace, and
something happened here.
And thanks for the music, Chuck. It fits perfect. and it just caught my attention because in that tree you couldn't tell what part was the tree and what part was the reflection in the water. You could have almost turned it upside down. It looked like a big oil painting. And this was our trip. And
this is that same location. Yeah.
Yep. And if you look way down there, there's one of us.
Oh.
Is that Tim?
Well,
no, that's me.
No purple shirt
that's
there.
you, Mike?
That's Mike.
That's almost where you fell in, right, Mike?
Yeah, right. I almost fell in the water.
Yeah, and I want to thank you, Mike, for letting me get the shot first. Okay.
All right, right.
But this one was, this was one I thought was good enough to share.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I didn't realize that was Mike. I thought it was Tim.
No, Tim was up behind me yet laughing. For those of you that weren't on the trip, we laughed for like 5 days straight.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Good time.
Great time.
Scott, is Scott here?
That's a cool shot.
Yeah.
So I guess Meyer's not here. He actually sent these in last month. He got it confused. So, and that I think is Florence.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Florence. Yeah, it's Florence.
Yeah, that's a beautiful reflection. And then this is reflecting glasses with the photographer in front.
That's cool. That's cool.
And Seth, is Seth there?
That's classic.
That is.
Yeah, hi.
Ah, hi.
Yeah, that
That's
was
a gorgeous shot.
2 weeks ago. We took our daughters to DC, and this was after dinner one night. We went to the Lincoln Memorial, and it was packed with people. There were all kinds of people there looking. But looking back at the Washington Monument, it was just gorgeous. And so I was able to get this. I actually got one different one with my daughter where she's got her arms out, so it looks like she's holding it, the top and the bottom. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, I thought that was
that is a gorgeous shot.
It's neat with the other buildings in it too.
Yeah, you've got the Capitol.
Yeah, got off to the side enough that you could see that. And if it weren't for the ducks floating around, you might not even know it was water.
Yeah.
Very nice.
There.
And this was, I think, last December. This was Kingwood Lake. So yeah, just looking back from, from the little boat launch or the little dock area there on Kingwood Lake. I really liked I liked the reflection on the little pylons, but it was just a really pretty sky, and I thought it was a really nice reflection.
It is.
And then this was actually the same night, just looking back the other way. So from that last bridge, looking back in the opposite direction across it.
Very sharp.
Nice.
Lovely.
And Steve.
Okay, so this is taken a few years ago with my iPhone. This is in front of Zemidis. On a sunrise.
That's the bridge over, or the harbor, or the deck. Dock.
That's the deck that isn't there anymore. Yeah.
No, I think it's still there.
Oh, well, it was destroyed. I think they rebuilt it.
Yeah, they rebuilt.
Yep.
Okay.
So next one. So this was from one of the trips we made to High Island. And so I think this is either a hinga or a it must be a hinga or a cormorant. I just happened to catch with the reflection right underneath him.
Beautiful. Oh, and this is.
I know where that is.
Yeah. So this is from our trip. This is Sylvan Lake. And I happened to catch it where it wasn't as calm as I would have liked it to have been. I know Anne got a very calm one. But yeah, that's the colors were nice, and wish the clouds were a little better, but it turned out pretty good.
Hey, I took some clouds on a plane coming back. I'll ship them to you. You can use them, okay?
Okay.
Hey, Ron, the picture behind me has one of your clouds in it.
Nice.
William.
Oh, okay. So this is from Antarctica a couple years ago. Just shot with an inexpensive cell phone, but it's got a very subtle reflection in it. I like that the reflection in this picture is not the point of the picture, but it adds an element to it to kind of make it stand out.
Yeah, it does.
Love the colors of the ice on this one. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. This one I call Double Grin. This is a daughter friend of ours. We were actually visiting him in Norway. They have a house in Norway. So we were out on a boat one day and caught her with a reflection in the glass of the boat. So I thought that was pretty cute.
That is cute.
And then finally, I call this knee deep. It's similar to a couple other pictures have been shown so far is that the reflection in the water, but I particularly like the tail and how that meets the water and then continues through the reflection in the water. So that turned out pretty well.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's cool.
Nicely done.
And Mike.
I guess this is a picture from our trip to Iceland, and we actually found out that the proprietor at the hotel there was a photographer, a very good one, and he told us to go out to the lake here, and we could really get some good pictures of the reflections. And so that's from the Northern Lights back about in September.
I'm so jealous. That's on my bucket list.
Yeah,
That is all neat.
and this was kind of interesting. We on our Russia trip, we went to a place called Sergeyev Posad, and it's like the Vatican of Russia. That's where their patron saint of Russia is Saint Sergei, and there's some pretty little pictures, a reflection of some of the gold domes there in the water, the flowers in the little water ditch there.
Nice.
And this is.
And here's the other picture.
One more.
Actually, this is interesting because Kathy and I stayed an extra 4 days, and we went back, and the trees had really changed just a lot from when they were there before.
They did.
It's really a pretty scene.
So this is a couple years ago, my grandson walking down. I loved his shark hat. That's what he's wearing. And he was just determined he was going to take off and walk down, and it was just perfect.
Beautiful.
Nice.
I love it.
Really
And
nice.
this is many years ago at Hilton Head with the lighthouse and Yosemite National Park. This has a little story to it. When you're at Yosemite, there's a circle. It goes around on one side and you come back, you go down the other side. This is the very last little turn off. And we were there early, and these kids here were photographers, and they said, "Oh, you got to stay because this is the great place." And actually since then I've noticed that I've seen many of this particular location and other photos. So we stayed, and this was what we got for staying, which I thought was awesome.
Wow.
Very nice.
Kathy, you didn't tell them what they did for that one kid did. He did a handstand on an rock overhang.
Oh, he told us. He went up to, I think it was at Glacier Point, one of the top points, and there's a ledge there. And he did a handstand on this ledge, which is crazy. I mean, absolutely crazy. So
What time of day is this, Kathy?
wait,
What time of day?
this would have been sunset. So this
Right
would
at
have been
sunset.
evening.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, so you,
Very nice.
this is the sunset reflection. And then once that goes down, it's not as pretty.
Yeah, this is Yosemite though, right?
Yeah, that's Yosemite.
Yeah, Yosemite.
Yeah. So final slide, and then you can all go have your dinners. Next meeting is November 16th, and we have a program called Photojournalism. The presenter is Richard Carlson, who's actually a member of the Black Hills Photo Club, who I met when we were there with Steve and talked to him, and he's agreed to be our presenter for next month, which is great. And then December 14th, this is early. It's 1 week before normal. It's the second Tuesday, not the third. That's because of Christmas. And this is the one where you just show up and we'll provide food, drinks and chips, regular drinks, and just have a social, see each other and be able to talk face to face. It'll be great.
Do we bring dishes like we used?
No, we're gonna, because we haven't met for so long, we decided, we'll go to Jason's and we'll get a sandwich platter or whatever, cookies and chips. It'll be something simple, but we'll provide the food for this.
Okay.
And then the share and learn for November is colors. And the picture I used is also from South Dakota. It was the sunset in the Badlands. And we had to get a picture of this green Jeep that Mike and I rented. To talk about the brightest car in the parking lot. And Randy says she's got the same Jeep on ordered, but she took the maroon instead of.
I went, mine's called Hypo Blue Pearl. And I have it now.
Do you?
But yeah, I do. So I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Kathy, I have the
Do you think you
same.
would have enjoyed the green color better than your color?
Oh, you know what? I've seen the green around town on, different ones. And when I was out in Austin and stuff, but I still love my blue. I'm real happy with it.
Okay.
It doesn't look like Smurf. I
Yeah.
think that we were talking about Smurf blue,
Right.
but
Yeah, we've got
but
one of those.
I'm happy with the blue.
Okay.
Kathy, the green machine is also in the background here in my picture. I moved out of the way. Little,
Oh, is it?
not so green, but it's my reflection picture that I did
You
not
know,
submit because I
I've
forgot
got to
about it.
find you. Hold on. Where are you at?
It was an awesome
If I keep
Jeep.
talking, maybe it'll pop up on top. I don't know.
Okay. Well, is this it here?
You can't see
Yeah,
any of the
this is
green.
it.
It's all black.
Yeah.
A little reflection.
You were
And
gonna
and
send me,
Mike
you were gonna
inside of
send
it.
me that photo too,
Yeah,
Tim.
well, I
I
will.
took a
Yeah.
solo
I'll
shot.
post them on Facebook.
All
I
right.
took a solo shot of the green machine too. So
Yeah, that was a cool car. I mean, when Mike said, I got a green, I thought, really? But it was
easy to
cool.
find in the parking lot.
Anyway,
It was
so-
fun.
So colors is this, it's the sky's the limit with colors. And then December is the Christmas social, so there's no share and learn. And remember, we're voting for directors in November. So if you'd like to be on the board, send in your name.